And we're back here once again with another episode of the Cloud9 podcast, season 13, episode 14. So if you guys are returning viewers or new viewers, then make sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Make sure to leave a like on this episode of the Cloud9 podcast if you enjoyed it and comment down below. Also, make sure you guys hit the notification bell. That way you guys can get notified on whenever I upload a brand new video or go live. And in today's video, as I should say, in this shindig banger, I'm kidding. I have to entertain you guys. I'm sorry. I just love entertaining people. But nevertheless, in this episode of the Cloud9 podcast, we're going to be recapping the 2024 League of Legends World Championship like we did last year. And we've been kind of doing this with most of the international events. It's always good to just kind of recap and talk about the event now that you basically have the hindsight 2020 mindset on the event after it's over. Faker won his 5th World's title, and he is just, I guess, League of Legends' main hero. He's literally just like Goku, and he will just come back and get a new form and then just win everything. All roads just lead back to Faker. Actually, the LCK has won every single event this year. Genji won MSI, T1 won the Esports World Cup, and then T1 ended up winning Worlds. So yeah, Korea just won everything. That must feel actually so depressing for China too, because China ended up having both of their best teams in the finals. BLG was in the finals of MSI with Genji, Top Esports in the finals at Esports World Cup, and then BLG were obviously in the finals of this tournament too. So it was, I guess, proven that those two were the best teams that China put up in. Yeah, both of them lost to not just T1 twice. They got clobbered by Genji. And we actually finally saw Chovy versus Knight, and Chovy make that guy look like he was a fucking Platinum 5 mid laner. That was embarrassing. So, yeah, doesn't feel good for the LPL losing to the LCK all year, but, we're going to go over the World Championship in just a little bit. How are you doing, white man?
That was a big introduction. It was like maybe 20 seconds long.
Yeah. So thank you for that. So we're here to talk League of Legends and entertain people. So what do you want, actually?
What do you mean, what do I want? I want to know what you want to start off with.
It just depends. Okay, we'll start with the new champion. There is a new champion. I did play against her, she was on my team on ARAM. So I know everyone saw me stream League. My internet started going down on the 3rd game. I should have just only played the 2. You guys saw me. I was immensely popping off because I'm actually I peaked at Challenger, rank 1 a few years ago, obviously. Back in my day, my hands were just insane. But I didn't know what the hell that champion was doing. Riot's going all out for Arcane Season 2. I haven't seen Arcane Season 1 yet. Don't think I've had that much interest. I just like playing League of Legends, the game. The lore.
I don't know why you hate. You really need to watch that show.
I'd say it was bad.
I know you didn't, but I know you're not interested. You would be if you watched it. It is genuinely good.
I don't know why they're saying this is the last season. Like, shouldn't they make more seasons?
So first of all, Riot Games started a whole new company of the animation series, and they didn't realize how to actually, because they bought the best of the best for everything. And if you don't know this was the most expensive animated series of all time. I don't know if you were aware of that. That was like $250 million budget. $238 million budget. Yeah, it was crazy.
Plus marketing. Right. So it was $200 million budget.
Well, I think it's all combined with marketing too. That's the big thing. But they spent a lot of money, and I don't know if they made a lot of money back, but they realized that it's just they need to probably cut back and be a little more conservative what they're going to be doing with their finances. I get it. Mm-hmm. Plus, I mean, it's gonna. I haven't watched season 2 yet, but I don't know if it's even out. I'm not sure, but
no, it's not out yet. No.
Yeah, because I haven't watched it, but it should. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming it's going to end off on a note that we're satisfied with because it did. They don't seem like they'd mess up the story on this one. I really have faith in them.
Because I think their idea behind it is to obviously make a show that can get people interested in playing League of Legends. But how would that show get people interested in playing League? That I don't know.
Well, I mean, you attach them to the story. Right, so if you look at World of Warcraft, I'll just give it in a term that's a little more recent. I mean, something I've experienced before. They made the Warcraft games. That's what they did and stuff like that. So they created a Warcraft game that's before World of Warcraft. There was Warcraft 1 through 3. Then there's an expansion called Frozen Throne. And people were so obsessed with the story of this that World of Warcraft was explosive. It started off massive and it gained popularity all the way up until they essentially tackled everything that was in Warcraft. Once the storylines that were introduced in Warcraft 3 were done, the game died down a little bit because there's nothing that really tied them down to the story. The player rate also shot up when the Warcraft movie came up. It's just what it is. I mean, when you have an attachment to the characters that are in the story, you have a little more of interest in playing the game itself to try and to kind of experience it. Because it's even if it isn't exactly the same, an attachment to anything will result in some sort of conversion in player base for most people, I believe.
Because that was my thing, is like, okay, for making this show, putting all this money into it, they're hoping this show draws more people to play League. You're hoping you're at least converting, I don't know, 60% of those people to start playing.
You want like 10% of them. If you can convert 10% of those people, you're happy.
Really? Oh, shoot.
I mean, more than that is unexpected. You don't really, I mean, the reality is that you're just trying to gauge. Some people are kind of obsessed with the show, and that kind of draws them into playing the characters just to experience what the story's like a little bit. Be like, oh, this was what this character's like in this from this story. Because like Jinx in the show is not similar to the game like the gameplay she kind of encompasses, but it's just
the story arc they're focusing on is Piltover, right?
Yeah. I don't know if it's still going to be Piltover. I don't know what season 2 is going to be going to be about. I mean, the big storylines were Jinx, Caitlyn, all those people that are kind of tied together in that. I mean, we don't know what's going to be happening.
Oh God, I never knew this was an animation that happened in League of Legends. So if Rakan ever kills Xayah, he just yells, "I'm free." Oh God, what a player that guy is. I'm just saying, Rakan, obviously, you guys know, dates Xayah, and there's an animation, or people show like these death animations. If Rakan kills her, he just can't wait to leave that lady. That man is arguably Riot, I think, created one of their best supports, which is Rakan. And like, he came out season 9, season 8?
Season. I think it was season 9.
Yeah, I remember when they created him and Xayah, he took off way faster than her. He was a support that people that were completely bad at the game could just one trick to like gold if you just were somewhat competent at playing him.
Well, the thing about it is the interactions he used to have on his abilities were completely removed. He used to have the ability to, I believe it was Alt W, or no. I can't remember what they removed.
His quickness used to be a lot faster. Like if you
they removed a specific interaction that I don't remember anymore because I don't remember which one they removed. But it was one of the big things that shot down his player base. But I mean, I think Rakan was an interesting character. I'm not going to try and take that away from him. But that combination of characters is one of the best I think Riot's ever introduced. Xayah Rakan is a very good combination.
They've never released 2 champions ever again. That's the only time I remember. Even if you go back and look at League's history, they've never released 2 champions more than one, like ever. Their first dual champions. She was the best ADC. She's still kind of like been the best ADC for a very, very long time, even with nerfs.
And he's one of the best supports. But the thing about it is, you don't have to play them together. They function extremely well as a group, but they also aren't required to be played together. I think that's.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll ever make champions like that ever again. The amount of impact they've had is it's insane. I've never seen that. It's crazy. Unless what other champion has had that? Like they come out and they've just been a staple. I mean, Kasante's been that. He's been that.
Kasante hasn't had enough time for me to call him a staple. I think staples require a few seasons to be able to be called a staple.
Sejuani, I will say, has had that for a long time.
Sejuani maybe on update, but no, she was even for a while. She just even after the update, she just wasn't played.
Gragas
has never been a staple. Gragas has been removed.
Pretty
so Gragas with Cinderhulk was played a lot, and then they removed that. He became less of a staple because his base damages were high, but his scalings weren't useful for somebody who jumps in. Rek'Sai was played for a while with Cinderhulk, and they got removed once they took away the W, knocking up multiple people. Staples would be like Azir in mid lane. Azir in mid lane pretty much has been played every year since
Orianna too. Yeah, those
Orianna is definitely stable.
Victor was there for a while too. They just got rid of him.
Victor wasn't there for the first 4 seasons. Yeah. Came up in season 5 to 8 or 9 and then stopped being played again.
There's always these crazy staple champions that'll be around forever, and they just get rid of them. Like, man, Rumble has been pretty hit or miss for a very long time.
Well, Rumble, you could argue is a stable champion, but the problem is that he just isn't played. It's either if it's a tank meta, he isn't played as often. If it's a bruiser meta, he's played more often because he can't deal with tanks in a side lane very well. And tanks altogether bring more in a late game team fight than Rumble does. Damage scales worse than CC in most situations.
Yeah, I was trying to think of like champions like them that have been released but have always been. There's metas where they're not even supposed to be picked and they're picked because of just how much good utility both of them have. I've never seen. I can't remember most champions like that. I'll have to really think about that. Vi, but she's only come back recently. Oh, Renekton. Once they buffed Renekton's late game a little bit, he's been a staple ever since.
Well, Renekton's been a staple since the beginning. He's always been played.
No, but he fell off because his late game was so bad.
His late game is still bad. So the reason you pick Renekton is because he has one of the best power spikes in the game. When he gets Sterak's Gauge with his ult, he becomes one of the highest sustain combos of damage and all these things in the game with that combination because he has so much lead, he has so much health, he has so many shields. It's hard to kill him because of how his ult works.
Backline access is really easy. The stun is point and click, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's not basically. It is point and click. But it is it's the big problem with all
Nautilus. He's been pretty much played for
Nautilus was not played for a long time. Nautilus literally from like season 5 to season 10 almost wasn't played.
You know what's crazy is that they made Rel jungle. I thought that was the most gimmicky jungler ever, and then they just made her a support again. But she
was always a support. She just could be flexed in the jungle, and it's better to have her in the jungle because it allows for multiple forms of high CC.
Rainer, what's up, buddy? Hi, Michael. A lot of James lately. Why he's giving us hope. He never sticks around. He'll be gone next year. He's leaving for China next year. He loves Asian people at this point.
I actually can't stand. I mean, it's not for me. I don't want to hate on Asian culture. It's just not for me. I'm not a reserved person like that. I don't like it. Just didn't like it.
Let's go down some of Worlds 2024. So I don't know. Which region we started last year? We did Europe. Then we did China.
I don't think regions matter. We can just go on a game-to-game basis. Talking overall about regions, we've done it like 4 times maybe.
Well, let's do the playing stage first then. Did you think the playing stage was interesting at all?
I did. I actually thought 100 Thieves was a little better than that. And that's all I can say about that.
Yeah, I genuinely thought they were going to get out. They bombed out so hard. It was embarrassing. Quid completely just ran it down every single game.
I think it comes down to the fact that we saw Rainbow 7 decimate 100. It wasn't even really close, which was embarrassing. There's a lot of mistakes that 100 Thieves made that I remember I actually watched those games on the I Will Dominate stream because I didn't watch those on the live stream. That was one of the few games I did that on. Mm-hmm. And he almost burst into tears every time they did this. They were genuinely underwhelming.
Rainbow is in the 3rd game they lost. If Quid wasn't trolling on Vex, they actually could have beaten them. Rainbow 7 wasn't even good. They were
I came into this tournament believing that like NA was gonna prove people wrong, and I almost gave up immediately when they did that. When 100 Thieves came out like that, I was like, was I really just wrong about NA fully? Because 100 Thieves did look better in NA. They did look better than that.
Yeah, like they kind of turned it on a little bit, but that was only because they had Tomo. Remember when they had Meech? They looked like one of the worst teams with Meech. Tomo came in.
Who picked up Meech? Meech just got picked up, didn't he?
He did.
I believe. Didn't he get picked? Am I crazy? Because when I saw the rumor and I was like, what is going on here?
If he got picked up, that team is getting like.
I'm gonna make sure because I think I'm crazy, but
you're probably right. I haven't seen the only rumors I've seen is just the LEC ones.
The LEC ones are so uninteresting. I don't think any of them are that good. Besides Jojo Pion.
Rainer says so. Separate stream for the offseason rumors. Yeah, I'm gonna have that on Sunday because recapping Worlds takes quite a bit of time going over like narratives and stuff like that. Yeah, he picked Vex and he just completely ran it down. I like that 100 Thieves team is not even good. Like the fact that Cloud9 failed to beat them and got blown out.
I think Cloud9 was a better team when they were kind of concise and put together. I don't know what happened towards the end of the season. There's been a lot of rumors as to what happened. But by the end of the season, I just genuinely wasn't believing in Cloud9.
Well, even Reaper in the that docu-series they have now, the new one called The Sky's the Limit. Reaper said that even when they were 2nd place in the league, he said word for word he knew they weren't good because. Remember how we had the format of the best of 3s that came back? Cloud9 actually didn't face FlyQuest and Team Liquid until week 7 of the split. So they basically had the easiest split of their life to just walk through really, really bad teams. And you could tell none of their wins were really dominant. They had a lot of mid-game mistakes, constant mistakes throughout the year. Vulcan just hasn't been as good as he used to be. It was absolutely abysmal.
I mean, Vulcan has been one of the weirdest things in my mind because I honestly think there was like 3 seasons where he was arguably the best support in NA besides Core JJ. Then he just fell off a cliff, and then he came back, and it's inconsistent. I don't want to give up on him. I do think there's a possibility he comes back, but that last season really makes me kind of lose faith in him a little bit.
Because 100 Thieves were just not good. Like, it's still shocking how they got to Worlds. They were a bad team. They got blown out by FlyQuest literally 2 days after beating Cloud9. You knew they were good.
Cloud9's mentality was shot by the end of the thing, and one of the biggest things about League of Legends as a whole is that your mentality going into the game. If you've never played a lot of ranked League of Legends, the quality of games that you play when you play consistent, and it's a thing in chess. One of the biggest qualities they talk about for professional chess players is their mental strength to be able to, their mental fortitude, your ability to play more and more games back to back to back, and not letting your mental falter. Because mentality is one of the biggest things that comes with kind of like games like this. You have to be on top. Your mind has to be at top shape, and we can see that Cloud9 to get that, like, the chemistry wasn't there. That's the biggest thing. The team chemistry just didn't exist. Just shows that EU is becoming NA 2.0. I mean, no, NA is getting better, and EU is just massively, and it's always been the biggest thing, because I think
I think what he's saying is EU's becoming NA by just importing people. But to be fair, it is just JoJo at the moment, so we'll have to see how all that
we'll see if they're talking about that. But I think one of the biggest things that I think with EU is the fact that during season 7 to 10, they did have they built 1 to 2 super teams, and when they stopped building super teams, they couldn't compete on the international stage. On top of the fact that their playstyle really hasn't shifted from the 2017. The G2 team from this season, if they were shifted back to season 7, and I'm not even going to try and argue this, would have been able to do as well as that G2 team. It's not even the quality of players that's dipped. It's the fact that their playstyles, their coaching mentality hasn't shifted from season 7. Teams because the introduction of tower plates, the introduction of Rift Herald, all these things drastically shifted the state of the game to the point where people were not able to react fast enough, because gold leads surmounted, including the Barons affecting minions too. That didn't happen before. When that started happening, it changed the game into a point where you had to, if you got a lead and you got all these things, you essentially just won the game. You could not lose with a lead if you got it too far ahead. Korea back in the day, they were able to ward and they were able to stall the game forever. EU has not shifted, because even though the game has changed, people have adapted to the playstyle of today. EU has not changed. EU is still a team fight centric team that tries to force team fights early and tries to use their leads into something that is they try and snowball it with these gold leads, and they don't actually get, because again, their warding isn't horrible. It isn't like their warding's been the problem. It's the fact that they crumble under mid game decisions, and that's something that we shouldn't expect from them. I think they're better than that.
Rainer said, the only narrative I need this past Worlds was the fact that G2 couldn't perform when it matters.
They just weren't good enough.
So let's just go on Europe, since we did that last year. We're going to go over Europe in general. So playing stage, I thought it was pretty bad for the most part, for being honest here. I think this is not the worst playing stage ever I've seen, but it definitely
I don't even know why you say it's the worst. I mean, this was genuinely entertaining. I think the quality of the wildcard teams has drastically improved.
It was awesome seeing them not just roll over and die. I guess.
Well, no, because back in the day,
I guess you just fight.
No, back in the day, these wildcard teams, when they got a lead, could not close it out. I just think that's a guaranteed thing. That
now they can't close out. They just have to wait till it gets so late in the game they can.
No, what happens now is if you throw a team fight into the wildcards team and you give them too much money, we saw that with a few other teams.
Like, some of them can close out. If you
they can close out games, they get a big enough lead. I mean, it's just something we couldn't expect from them before. I think the wildcard teams have improved, and people saying they haven't because they think that. I mean, I do think NA underperformed. I do think they shouldn't have been beat by the wildcard teams, but you can't. The wildcard teams of the past
when they face a team that we know is better than them, they just get blown out anyway.
Well, you're talking about quality of teams being way higher, and that's just without a doubt that's going to happen every year. They just are worse. You're misunderstanding. If you gave them a lead against SKT, it wouldn't have mattered because SKT would have won. But if you give them a lead against one of the lower quality teams from like any region, for the most
could possibly
win. I mean, they could have done it against. I mean, honestly, against DK, they could have got a win out. If they got a huge lead against DK, they could have closed the game out because there is a lack of like their ability to team fights. First of all, has drastically improved. The quality of the mechanics of the players is by
I don't just think it's wildcard teams. I think that wildcard teams for years have just stacked the best players in said wildcard region.
I agree. That's why the same ones keep coming every year. That's why it keeps happening.
But it's the thing with wildcard teams in general. They only can do that against their level of competition. They can't do that.
They're not doing it against. They shot up this year.
You're saying Penn Gaming still looked pretty bad for the most part. They got blown out by every team.
You're talking about if you're going to demote, Gam looked good. Gam looked
somewhat decent against. No, after Team Liquid on game 1, they just looked bad.
It's because Team Liquid they straight up after that first game. And you're saying that Gam played worse. Gam did not play worse. Team Liquid massively improved from game 1, and Gam didn't adapt, and that's fair enough to say.
Yeah, but that's why.
And also, I just want to point out, Gam isn't a wildcard team. I don't even know.
That's considered a major region. They're playing the playing stage. They're considered a minor wildcard team.
No, Vietnam and what's it called are not considered wildcard regions. You can say whatever you want. They're just not considered. Yeah,
I don't know what Riot.
I don't know why you just even
Riot considers them wildcard teams.
Wild does not consider them wildcard teams. The wildcard team, they're one of the major regions. They have been. They used to get. I don't know if they still.
There's no way they're a major region.
Literally last year, they got a straight up person. I mean, the year before that too. They got teams straight into the tournament.
Because under the PCS has 2 seeds, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know. For me, whenever they face against someone that's better, they get all their weaknesses exposed anyway. They're only able to do that against teams.
I don't know why you keep saying about teams that are better than them. That's fine, but teams that aren't better than them, which they've essentially been able to get up to the 4th seed of NA, which they were never able to do before.
Yeah, but that's not like
that is impressive. They should be proud of at least getting to the 4th seed of NA.
I thought you're like shoot for the stars, shoot for your dreams.
You should always shoot for the stars. They should have been. If I was on a wildcard team,
is beating 4th seed in 18.
No, I'm just going to tell you right now. If I was on a PCS team as the 2nd seed and I went into Worlds, I would be going there to win Worlds. That's just the reality of it. If I didn't win Worlds, I'd be disappointed.
Well, the difference
between a competitor's mindset, a competitor should always go in with the mindset of beating everybody. That should always be your mindset.
That's a in theory thing versus what is actually in reality what's going on.
Yeah, but you're not a competitor. That's why you misunderstand it. You're not a competitive person.
You're missing the point. I can hopefully make. Actually, we know this. All these guys think they can go and win Worlds. They scrim against them. We've heard these stories for years, and they get blown out so bad. Their mindset dips into the toilet. They know they can't do it. It's not that we know they can't. I know they can't.
They don't go in there believing they can't win.
After they scrim, they do. After they scrim, their mindset's completely.
I'm telling you right now, every team goes in there wanting and believing, or not. Maybe I don't know to say every team believes they can win Worlds, but a large amount of the competitors, no matter what region, believe they can win Worlds.
Some of them go in basically now instead of saying they want to win Worlds, they go, and I think this is the better mindset. They go and they say they want to.
So you think the better mindset is saying, "Hey, I just want to win one game"? You're pathetic. I'm not even joking. Look at me right now. If you think a competitor should go in there with the mindset, and look at the Olympic stage. When Olympic basketball comes onto the stage, all of them play the United States. They all try their heart out. They believe this is the year we can win gold every single time the Olympics comes up, no matter how much the discrepancy is between the teams.
Little bit of
there's no discrepancy. You're not a competitor because you got no testosterone in your body. You give up
a key component of what you're saying.
No,
so League of Legends is a 5v5 game. What is an Olympic sport?
5v5. It's literally 5v5.
Just for basketball, it is. Most Olympic sports are one-man shows.
I literally just talked about basketball.
I'm just pointing out.
Play your nostrils at me real quick.
I'm just pointing out that when these guys go and scrim, they get destroyed. You know that, right? They're not winning scrims ever. Okay, so that means what do you mean?
They should go in there?
When you go in, I'm going to win Worlds. T1 in scrim. You know what Blabber said? Blabber, our best jungler, said he has a 5% win rate against T1. Listen
to me right now. You don't have the mindset of a competitor. That's just
they do, and they still lose.
You don't, and that's why you don't understand why they should think.
You're missing the point.
I'm not missing the point.
They go in thinking that they can win. Okay, they scrim. Just recently, Nuke Duck said when they scrimmed against them, they mentally imploded. They probably thought they were going to win MSI. Did they not? They mentally imploded so bad.
Tell me, first of all, you're kind of shifting the conversation regardless.
No.
Our conversation is talking about should teams go into Worlds believing that they can win. Ooh,
what's up?
Ooh, what's going on?
I'm just watching the game right now.
You're talking about the Ravens game?
Yeah,
I was just watching that, but I came in here because my brother was super interested.
That was a close game.
If
I'm Cincinnati, I probably would have kicked it and went to overtime, but I understood the risk.
By the way,
we're gonna get to talking about Europe. So Europe sent G2, Fnatic, and who they sent? Mad Lions. Let's be completely honest here.
Koi.
No one really
Don't
thought
call Mad Lions. Just call Mad Lions.
Next year's will be Koi.
Next year's just Koi again. So Mad Lions came. Let's be honest here. No one thought they were gonna do anything. I think basically them being at Worlds is a surprise in and of itself. That's what I would say. They're happy to be here. And the next team to talk about, I would say, is Fnatic. So Fnatic, good actual God. I knew they'd be one of the worst teams for the West coming into the tournament. Macro-wise, they can't team fight. They don't know how to just play the map in general. They can't cross-map play anything. Like, they're just absolutely just clueless on the map.
I'm back.
So I know you've mentioned coaching staff. I've watched this team the entire year. You can't teach these guys anything.
I wasn't here for the past 20 seconds. What were you just talking about?
No, thing. Remember how we were talking about Fnatic and we were talking about the coaching staff in a few episodes back?
I think you're missing. Like, I don't think you quite understand how important, and it's a big problem with the Western teams, how important coaching staffs are for the success of an esports team.
Well, what I'm trying to bring up is they have been trying. You can tell they've been trying to teach the team some semblance of how to play the game.
They don't know how to themselves.
So one of two things are true. Either the players aren't listening, or the players are unable to get the information and do it in the game, or the coaches are just bad. You only have to.
I think the coaches are bad. So I'm gonna tell you the dynamic of the way that EU has played, and that's the reason I think the coaching staffs are bad in EU. The way they play the game in EU has not shifted from 2017. It has not changed in the slightest. They played the same way they have played since then, and because the EU teams found success 10 years ago, they're like, let's keep doing it. But the reality is the game is not the same anymore. You can't play the game like that anymore. You have to change the dynamic at which you play the game. You can't play with fast pace, because the reality is the best teams in the world no longer play that play style of just hammer in a huge lead in the first 5 to 10 minutes. They don't do that anymore because there's so many variables that can come into play when characters, you can't account for everything. A champion's power does not come into play. You can't really do anything until they get at least one item. Because at that point, auto attacks do more than your damage.
They've had these issues all year. They can't.
Yeah, but this is just. Yeah, I'm telling you, this is because the
you can't blame it on coaches. These guys.
I am blaming it on coaching staffs. They don't
the entire year. The
entire year.
So it was the coaching staff's fault against the summer finals that they couldn't win.
When Fnatic gets leads, it doesn't amount to anything because they either throw it away.
Though
that is a coaching. So the entirety of the early game, I'm going to tell you right now. Besides laning phase, the entirety of the early game, from map moves to everything, is coaching staffs. It's all coaching staffs. Everything besides laning phase in the early game is coaching staffs. If any mistakes get made,
I would agree with that. If this was a problem that actually got fixed, I think
if it doesn't get fixed, that means the coaches can't do anything.
Not good at these guys are stupid. They can't play macro.
No, that's macro in the early game is 0% on the players. Macro in the mid game.
What are you talking about?
It is. That's just that's the reality of how games.
You can go over several things with them.
No, you tell them
why do you think the information is not?
I'll tell you why it's 100% on the players right there. 100% on the players, because from early game to mid game, every single step from jungle pathing into who is going to be invading around the map. Because mid game is on the players for macro.
Yeah.
The reason the mid game is on the players because you can't identify what's going to be happening in the early game from the other team. So you have to kind of adapt from there. In the early game, because nothing can have happened, the early game is all dependent. It's either you play defensive and react to what they're doing.
Yeah.
And you can kind of, and you say they're going to be in top side, so we're going to either have the lanes switch lanes.
I need to ask you, do you think they've not did that the entire year?
If they had done that, they would be a better team.
No. Do you think they haven't done that?
I think they're not good enough to do it. I think they're not good enough. I don't think
they haven't done that. The players just aren't able to take the information.
There's just no world where if the coaches were good enough, these mistakes would be made still.
Do you think if they have SKT's coaching staff, they would make these mistakes constantly?
If they listened to SKT's coaching staff, they would not make all of these mistakes. No, they would still not be good enough to win worlds, but they would not
winning worlds. That's not
no, I'm just saying if they had SKT's coaching staff and listened to them, they would have made it out of play.
I've seen this team they would have made the entire year.
Yeah, but
watch
you're not taking into
them. They're not players that I think that like listening.
Every mistake that you're accounting for right now can be.
You're gonna tell me Humanoid likes listening to coaches?
I don't care about likes or not likes. That come down to you not getting the respect to your players, and that's on them.
That's the thing. They don't respect their coaches. They're not even listening to them. I can tell.
I'm just telling you. Regardless, because the play style of EU as a whole has not shifted, I can tell you all the coaching staffs are playing because every single team in EU is playing like this. Not just one or two teams, not just Fnatic.
Yeah.
Every team is playing like this, which means that the coaching mindset in the entire region is this fast-paced, mid-game push into a forcing them to team fight you thing. But you constantly apply pressure around the map by forcing fights between them, maybe lose a few people, but you gain pressure.
That's stupid. And that's if they can't close out an 8K gold lead constantly, that's just on the players.
Well, the reason they can't close an 8K gold lead out is because when they get 8K gold leads, they don't know what to do besides force Baron. It's the only thing they know how to do.
They've had these in multiple situations.
Yeah, but if not a single team in the EU can do this, you think it's every single player in the EU is bad?
No.
You think that's the more likely than?
Well, no. One thing is, at a certain point, it has to be on the players because the coaches can only do so much. It's up to the players to take what they've learned from scrims.
What if they learn
what they're doing and put it into the game? That's what you do.
You're giving so much little power to the coaches. That's why you don't think they don't have any effect on this.
I've watched all their videos. I know those players are not listening to them.
It doesn't matter if you watch, even listening to the coaches.
That's what will contribute to a bad team. If they're not listening to the coaches,
10 teams in EU and none of them can close out. Every single coach in EU plays the same game. Every one of them has the same mistake, and the reason they have the same mistake is because they don't understand mid-game.
Okay, so if Fnatic have these same problems next year, are you going to blame the coaches again?
I will. With the same exact.
No, they have the same top side.
Just imagine. Okay, that's fair enough. It doesn't matter if they change. If they haven't, the players do not make. If they can't adapt, you kick them off. If they can't, I'm just telling.
They have the three same players coming in.
I'll blame the coaches again.
But we've seen it the entire year with this lineup right now.
Coaches defined macro gameplay. The players do not. You give them a basis on what they can do in specific situations, and then a shot caller chooses from there. If your team is bad at macro, and macro is defined by coaches. If your team is bad at macro, you're a bad coach and you should step down. Guaranteed. There's no excuse.
I'm saying I'm not even saying you're wrong. They're not listening.
I'm not disagreeing. They're not listening, but I also don't think the coaches are good. Because it's not just that.
That's why they're dysfunctional. The coaches are not able to teach them properly. They're not listening.
They don't know how to. That's the problem. EU coaches are bad.
You know that Jim was rapping egg roll, right? He couldn't.
I'm not disagreeing that they don't respect the coaches, but if you can't gain the respect of coaches, the players as a coach, you're a bad coach.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is they've had those problems all year. There was no way they were going to do well at Worlds. The players
I don't disagree. I did not think Fnatic was going to be good. I also don't think G2 is only going to do good if they get a super team because their mindset on the game is still stuck in 2017. Unless they change drastically, they're not going to do good.
Chaz, what do you think about Fnatic going into Worlds? What did you think about them in general?
Rather the June were the only player that actually cared, but June, and I'll have to break it down. Oscar just wasn't good enough.
Oscar doesn't count. They were playing 4v5 anyway.
Rather is a great player, but he's a one-man machine. Humanoid, he gives up too easily. The minute he feels like he can't, that the game is lost, he tends to he throws it away a bit at a time because he doesn't have the confidence in his team to try to actually win. Noah has no confidence in himself. He played
better at Worlds than I thought. He did play better. I'll give him that.
I don't think Noah's that bad. He's just
Noah's not bad. He has no confidence.
I agree.
Noah's just fat and retarded. And
to me, he never. I don't know why he's still in Europe. It seems like he never fit here in Europe. It was one of those things where, he had Jun. Jun was good, but
had Trimby. That didn't work out either.
Yeah, no, that to me was Fnatic. You got 5 people that just never meshed well together, and you get rid of 2/5 of them. To me, the two guys you got rid of were the 2 guys you should have kept. I think they should have got rid of Humanoid and.
But as we know,
or at least Humanoid, get rid of Humanoid. At least
as we know, with Humanoid's big contract, they can't. They basically would have to. His contract runs up at the end of this year coming up, so that's when they're not going to entertain his contract after 2025. pay him out, finish it up, get a new mid laner because he played so well in 2021. It made them go, we got to just give this guy the bag. He's our next franchise player. And this guy's been the most dirtiest of fucking enters I've ever seen. Oh my God. Running it down completely. Like, there's nothing, like, there was no way, like, even though I think Razork is one of the best junglers in EU, there was no way G2 was going to grab him from Fnatic.
No.
Yeah. Like, what's the point of getting him if you know his mindset is that bad? If he starts running it down, he doesn't even believe in his team. Like, what's going to happen on G2 when they're facing up against, like, I don't know, like a Gen G or a T1? Like, he just fails.
I think the thing was that. I think that's more of a. I don't think that was a. If I'm on a good team, I'm gonna run it down. I think he never had faith in Fnatic, but Fnatic automatically there's automatically got to be a second team. BDS can't show the fuck up. SK is the Cowboys. They only show up in the regular season. The minute they get to the playoff,
what's playoffs for SK? What's that? I don't know.
SK is like Houdini in the playoffs. Motherfuckers they're like me and MSK's dad. They just disappear the minute you need them. It's like shit. Where SK at? I'm dead ass. I'm dead. When's the last time?
Just before you go, SK got first place in a split ever since we started watching League. That was their first time getting first in fucking 9 years. Bad. This ass org.
And then just they go with 0-4. What is it? 1-4 drop. What the? That's like me. That's like me when I was playing Dark Magician to a regional, and I surprisingly beat I beat one of the hand loop deck and then got hit.
Dude, that's the problem with Fnatic right now. Fnatic are like, we're comfortable being the second place team to G2, but hey, at least we're not the third team. It's like, okay, that's bad. That's I'm talking about not talking about winning worlds. I'm talking about just domestically. If domestically, at least if you're winning championships, I can at least somewhat say your year was successful like G2's was. But Fnatic hasn't won jack shit in years. They're just content being second place. But hey, we're not BDS. It's like that's not a standard, just not being BDS. That's not good, right? You know? Humanoid is just God, I don't know how that and he just can't believe he can beat Caps. Nook just pulls his pants down and just takes it up the ass from Caps. He just gives up. He knows he's not shit.
He comes into the match already looped up, ready for the action. He knows what's gonna happen. Even when think about this, you know how fucked up it was that none of the casters, when BDS was up 2-0, was like BDS is gonna win this. Everyone in the chat was like, 3-2 G2. It was like, and then I'm thinking, okay, BDS is gonna beat him at 4. Nope. Yeah. They lose the first one.
I lost faith in Fnatic was when they were facing off against Weibo, and this has been the problem with this team the entire year. I saw them waste 3 ults on a Rakan, and I was like, fuck this team. Please get out of this tournament. They wasted 3 ults on a Rakan, and it made Breeze look like a top 4 top laner when he got Jack's flank.
I honestly don't think I hate anybody as much as Breeze, because Breeze got the least trash thrown at him this entire tournament. Breeze is like no, because people didn't believe in Kingen. People praised Breeze, and that drove me crazy. Breeze is bad.
Kingen won a world championship, and people were like, "Oh my god, he's gonna come back and do it."
No one didn't. No one believed in Kingen. People,
should you have higher standards for a world champion or Breeze, who's barely made a top 8 in his life?
No, I don't care about winning world champions because people don't always say world champions are good, like they said. But the Invictus Gaming support, no one thought it was good.
I have more faith in Breeze because we saw DK last year just running down.
Oh no, Kingdom was on Hololive, and we know he wasn't shit.
I literally can't stand Breeze. Can't stand
man. Oh my goodness. We'll get to China a little bit. G2. So G2 went into this world championship as one of the, I guess, the only Western hope, like they kind of usually are. And just like last year, same story ended up happening. Knocked out by BLG. I thought they played against BLG better last year than this year. Last year, they had a way better shot at beating them. This year, it just felt so hopeless for them.
No, but
once they lost to T1, it was just over. They couldn't even do a basic 1-3-1 against T1.
But I'm gonna say this: BLG was better this year. That's why to me it was tougher this year.
Also at night this year.
That's how I was saying it was tougher this year, but it was a bigger gap. See, what happened to the G2 that T1 in 5 games? And could have beat them at MSI.
they peaked. It's safe to say they may have just peaked at MSI.
And then T1, spin the block and hit him 3-0. Like G2 does to Fnatic. You know the fucked up thing about it? T1 does to G2 what G2 does to Fnatic. They either win close, and then when they face again, they get clapped.
Like in that game, like I'll say this for this G2 roster, given how domestically successful they are, when you finally saw them play at the peak, it did look good. They almost beat Team 1 in a series. They 3-0 top esports. When you saw them at their peak, it looked like, okay, now I can see why they got this roster together. But when they were like not good, it was just like, this is looking pretty bad, honestly. It was based just the cap show and Hansama's like your second ADC.
I mean,
not ADC, your second carry.
I think that teams ramp out throughout the entire year, and G2's ability to capitalize in the early game is always going to get them success in the early part of the year. When we get to the late game, when we get to Worlds, I think that their play style falls off because teams are no longer meshing together. There's not this kind of warm-up period anymore, and I don't think G2 is ever that good. I don't think they are that good, and I don't think their peak's that high because I don't think they're good of a team. Genuinely, unfortunately for G2, unless they change, and again, we'll see what happens with the support change. We'll see if that makes the difference here. But with the mindset,
or when I screw your mom, no, I'm just kidding. Skew-mon's the jungler. I'm kidding, guys. I'm never getting over that guy's name. Skew-mon? Are we serious? Skew your mom? No. Holy shit! What
Hey! There's some player named Life, but they always dead. There's players named Missing. There's players that actually go missing. On was off in the finals.
So no, you're not understanding. On wasn't off. He's just that. Like, people are like, man, On underperformed. On is that bad. He's not good. On is just literally on.
He was off.
On is turned on 3 times at Worlds, and you can literally remember the
Breathe was dead. He
flashed,
Breathe wasn't breathing.
When he flashed over the wall to try and stun Owner, I was like, yeah, that's the On I remember.
I knew
that was going to happen.
Ben got put into a bin.
When it's crazy. He flashed over the wall, missed the Q, and that meant that Knight couldn't hit the charm on him. And I was like, I knew it's almost predictable. When I saw him sitting over the wall, I didn't believe he's going to hit that. I did not have faith in On. Like, it just didn't make sense.
Another thing I want to cover with G2 is that domestically, they're not challenged. We know they kind of get to run the LEC. And then they couldn't, I mean, we saw G2 do this 1-3-1 against EU teams. They couldn't do it against T1, and they had the lead for the most of the game. They couldn't do it. At that point, you kind of do have to shake up the roster. Like, because they already conquered Europe. Once you already, in my opinion, won a few domestic trophies, been to a couple of international tournaments, G2's aspirations, I would agree with this, should be top 4 at Worlds, should be almost being in the finals like they were back in 2019. At that point, if you can't do that, and beating T1 beat top esports 3-0. So G2, that's a great accomplishment, but T1 also showed you can beat them 3-0. So it's like, you got to change the roster. And I love G2. I've been watching G2 forever, but when the peaks of the roster were there, it looked very good. But when the lows were there, it can't happen internationally. They lost going to top 8 last year, guys, to NRG. This year, they lost going to top 8 because they lost to T1. So I guess a little bit more not as embarrassing. They lost to the world.
They had a hard series going in, but I don't think there's a world where they could have beat FlyQuest or even Team Liquid. They could have done it.
I think they could have beat Team Liquid. I don't know about FlyQuest.
I don't think they could have beat Team Liquid. Genuinely looked good, and I actually the only reason I think you're hating on them, dude. Team Liquid and G2 and FlyQuest both look good.
I'm gonna tell you why.
Pretty bad, honestly.
I'm gonna tell you why.
They were 1 game away from top 8.
I'm gonna tell you.
Against facing an A team.
I'm gonna tell you.
Pointing out.
I'm gonna tell you this. I had faith. I started believing. I started believing in FlyQuest. I was like, FlyQuest ain't gonna make it out of top 8. Like, and once they got Genji, I was like, oh yeah, no, they're done.
They were done regardless, but
they took them 5 games, being up 2-1. That I was looking at Genji like, oh okay, T1's going to beat you.
Speaking of NA, since we're already on them, let's just go to NA. So 100 Thieves doesn't count. That they're just trash.
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about them.
Good Lord,
real quick about 100 Thieves. Them making it to World says more about Cloud9 than 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves shouldn't have been there. I'm gonna keep it 100. Them losing.
Sniper said he was gonna retire if he didn't get out of Swiss stage. We're still waiting on that, buddy.
He ain't gonna retire.
I don't want him to retire.
No, but I just find that funny. Remember how Noah said, Noah kept the promise. He said, I'll leave Fnatic if I don't win you trophies. He did say that. He did. He left.
To me, I'll give him credit for that. To me, 100 seeds overachieved. Them losing to R7, I was surprised and not surprised. So you remember, I kept telling you about 100 seeds real quick that they
there was a chance they'd get knocked out of play-ins. It was possible.
Yeah. I was like, oh, fuck. Once I saw that they go against PSG, I was like, oh, okay, pack it up. All right, we're done. Fuck. No, because the team was over eager. They were over eager. They were doing mistakes because they were.
Is PSG the NA killers? They knocked out 100 Thieves. They knocked out FlyQuest.
Yeah, to a certain degree.
I guess the NA killers. So with Team Liquid, I thought them losing in the fashion that they did in the LCS finals maybe have just crippled their brains.
I did think that they were going to come into this.
They legitimately could have won, and I'm not saying they would have won the series. They would have went to a game 5, and it could have happened. But them losing the finals in the fashion they did. Keep in mind, they didn't lose because they were outplayed. They lost because of the mechanic.
No. Technically, they did get outplayed because someone didn't think about.
APA did. APA said we should send someone back, and I think Umpty said we can end.
And see, right there, APA should have been like, nope. That's the issue. It's the whole thing when you play a team game.
Of course, JJ said that he was on crack.
Think about this. It's a team game. If you have a suspicion about something, you feel like it is right, you need to overmatch whoever it is. Even if it's Corey Gage, it's like, no, we need some.
All they had to do was just send one person back, and because they had Tristana, you could just mow down Busio, win the game, go to game 5. I don't know who wins it. They lost to a minion. That's embarrassing to do that. And then they went to Worlds. So their opponents were what? LNG, Weibo, and they faced GAM, and they faced FlyQuest. So they had a free top 8. All you had to do was just beat FlyQuest. That's the easiest top 8 to do, is facing someone in your own region.
I don't care what anybody says. I genuinely think that FlyQuest was not the 8th worst team of Worlds. They weren't the 8th best.
I think same thing with GG too. I think
they were better than LN by the end of the series, the Swiss stage. They're better than LNG. I think they were better than Weibo. I think they were better than
Weibo.
Weibo would look so bad. Weibo never looked good.
I would say the only team that were better than was LNG.
That's crazy. Weibo looks so unfortunately bad.
If you put Weibo against FlyQuest, I think Weibo wins 3-1.
That's crazy. They just aren't that good. Weibo has
but you gotta realize Weibo is very good at adapting if you don't adapt to them.
I know. I think they're literally
I don't think FlyQuest would have adapted to them the way. Weibo's one of those teams that knows how to play against weird picks. They're one of those teams that just out of nowhere they'll hit you with a magic cylinder mirror.
I'm going to tell you
that play makes no sense, but in a sense, anytime you underestimate Weibo just pops the fuck off.
My problem with Weibo is that they genuinely were the most overhyped team at Worlds. I honestly think they're one of the worst top 4 teams we've ever seen. I don't think they should have been there. I think they were genuinely worse than last year's Weibo by a large margin, and that they performed to a standard that was just high fast-pacedness, and they were able to perform at that point because of the quality of their players. Their coaching staff was very good. I want to point out the coaching staff was very good. I don't want to take away from them. I think they should have had good macro because they made really good picks. And their early game, there's nothing could have done about that. The early game plays that Weibo made were always good because their coaches are good. And I think that's just fair to say that
that's an example of the players listening to the coach.
Yeah.
It's not even just that. Even if they did, I would say their mid to late game sucked because their decision making as a whole, as players, was bad.
Yeah. That's why they were always better at team fighting. They were always better at catching a throw. They did that last year. This is
you say I'm just saying none of their players were exceptionally amazing. They don't have very good mechanics. They just have good players. And I think one of the big things that makes them strong is that their coaching staff carried their stupidity. And I think that if they could not close out the game against FlyQuest, I think FlyQuest wins it.
That's why I say FlyQuest wouldn't beat them. I don't think FlyQuest would have closed out.
Well, no, I'm saying FlyQuest, if it gets to late game, FlyQuest wins 90% of the time in my mind.
I'm saying Weibo.
Weibo is better than Breed.
I don't know about that.
Certainly a top lane matchup for the ages.
I don't know about that.
Breed is bad. Breed is a bad player. I honestly think Breed was a bottom 8.
But I
don't trust Whipple's instinct when it's needed. Sometimes,
I don't know, man. It's just really inconsistent.
I would say this. I would say play wise, I would say they're definitely better than LNG. I never had faith in LNG, and possibly Top Esports.
Top Esports is better than Weibo.
They probably could have beat Top Esports on that day they were playing.
I would tell you why. I'm not gonna say Weibo because I see how Weibo adapted. The reason why I say Top Esports just I'm still looking for the players.
And this is why Worlds would need a double. I'm just saying, I'm not going down that rabbit hole. If Worlds had a double elimination bracket, we would see FlyQuest play again against another team. I'm just saying we could have. We don't have double elimination.
I don't like double eliminations.
I don't like double elimination World. I like the one and done is because you have to show up.
I'm just saying that.
And it's not just that. I love the underdog stories that are possible with a single elimination.
I'm just pointing out that we would be able to see FlyQuest adapt.
I don't really care for that. FlyQuest should have showed up on the day. That's just
FlyQuest did show up, and you got to realize
that last game they played was pathetic.
That's because they weren't good.
Well, no, that was pathetic. They
made
a lot of mistakes.
We expected going into the series.
I don't care about that.
I'm just pointing out
their first 4 games.
When JG drafted complete scaling, games 2, 4, and 5, they got rolled out. It wasn't even close.
2 or 4, they got rolled out. Game
5, they got absolutely rolled.
I don't care what you say.
Game 5 was closer than it should have been.
Not even close. It just looked close.
Gen G didn't do anything in Game 2. That was FlyQuest giving them leads. I don't care what anybody says.
No. Game 2, they got.
So I'm going to tell you the 3 mistakes. I'm going to tell you the 3 mistakes that they made. Mid lane, when he went as Nunu into what's it called? Into the middle lane.
Yeah.
He ran in knowing that his ult can be canceled just by a Kassadin Q and still ran into turret and killed himself. Got a double kill for him. That's a massive lead. We had the bot lane mistake where he tried to gank bot lane 3 times and literally had so much time to react and go to the other side of the map, still didn't do it. Went bot lane, made 3 mistakes, wasted time, which meant that Nidalee got a huge lead. Game 2 was not won by Gen G. It was lost by FlyQuest. It was lost by FlyQuest.
First of all, he was ahead of him in pathing and mapping around.
No, he wasn't ahead in pathing until the 3 failed games.
Faster than Nidalee.
He was down.
The advantage he gets.
He doesn't clear faster than Nunu is literally.
Nunu can actually make more effective ganks because of his CT.
But he failed. He failed the game.
No, that's right there.
No. He crashed into a wall.
He's playing Nunu.
I don't understand what so
the advantage
you're not understanding. It's not like I'm going to tell you right now.
It.
Canyon didn't do anything to counteract this. He just failed the gank, so he got to passively gain gold on him. That's what happened.
That's playing
not
the map.
If I played and I just passively farmed, I would be ahead in gold.
That's literally what you do. If a jungler does that, you would go steal their camps and actually ward.
He didn't steal
camps. He did.
I'm telling you right now. I'm trying to explain this in a way that you can kind of get, because I'm not trying to insult you, but it's just I play a lot of jungle. I played jungle at a relatively high level, and it's not that high, but still.
Okay. So if you fail a gank to me and I go and take your top side jungle, that's me
based.
playing bad.
People in silver do that.
Okay, so that doesn't
mean you played well. That means they made a mistake.
Yes, it does. No, multiple do not know that.
Everybody does that. Literally in silver, if you go to silver and you gank bot, they will take your top side camp every time. That's a
I do that every time.
That's literally what happens.
That's not
impressive. That's a basic.
He's
basic jungle mechanic.
Nidalee needs to be ahead. Actually,
MSK. I'm about to listen. Taking jungle camps on the opposite side of the map where the gank happens is literally so basic. I won't praise any jungler for doing it.
Yeah,
every jungler does that.
What I'm saying is, you're acting like he did nothing in the game.
He didn't. He didn't. His early game was based on passively farming because Nunu failed. It wasn't from him gaining a lead. It was from Nunu failing, and the point of ganking is that you're giving up resources to try and get the lanes ahead.
Yes, but
if you fail on this, not only do you lose resources on the enemy jungler, but you gain nothing for your laners, and you still XP from them.
Now, this is where you're missing it. Just because you gank does not mean it's going to be successful, right?
What does that even mean?
None of his games were successful, so it doesn't matter if he's ahead.
Yes, because he failed the game. It wasn't even because the guy outplayed him. He failed games.
He failed them macro-wise. He knew the
arrow was down. It's a micro decision.
It's a macro decision.
He literally mechanically outplayed.
Making a cross-map play.
It was a cross-map. He went from Grob to bot. There's no cross-map. That's a cross-map.
You're talking about the mid-game. You're talking about when mid lane and game pays, right?
That's the second time, first of all. That was the second game. The third game of the game.
Yeah. That's not
failed
him outplaying anybody. That's him just being bad.
Yeah. I like how you praise Genji for mistakes that FlyQuest makes that are very
So you're saying Genji did nothing that game and just did
I think that they rolled the game. When Genji gets a lead, they win. I think they win against any team.
You're missing going.
I'm not missing any
nothing. No. Do you know what the? Okay, I'll explain in Yu-Gi-Oh term. You would know. Do you know what Pot of Desires does?
I do.
Okay, so you have a 40 card deck, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if you banish those 10 cards,
okay,
do you have that as an advantage to you?
What does that have to do with anything?
What I'm talking about is that's an illusionary advantage you have. You don't actually have those 10 cards. Pot of Desires is advantage you a +1. The way you're describing a lead is it's binary. You're not describing it as of like, I can fight you back. It's just like, I have a lead, so I should just blow you out.
Are you trying to praise Genji for something they didn't do?
They didn't actually roll over. That's what I'm saying.
Genji didn't roll over because they got a lead and they listen, if Genji gets a lead,
they had the same lead.
They got their lead off FlyQuest playing like garbage.
Their champions that game were scaling. Those are scaling champions. They had Ash, Tristan, they had Ash, Kassadin.
Basic people will think that Chovy did. I mean, it would not. That anything happened in the mid lane was stupid based on anything but mistakes. When Nunu goes in and they don't use their Q and you still trying to channel ult for the shield, you made the mistake. What?
Oh God! Oh shit!
Did you almost choke to death?
Swallow something in the wrong pipe.
I did watch that. I actually thought that.
Oh God, that's what Lennon would do too. Oh my goodness! But do you not see how you describe a lead? You don't.
I'm not telling you anything but the fact that I'm not impressed with how Genji played game 2.
I'm not saying you should, but you're acting as if like they were getting destroyed the entire game and it was FlyQuest.
I never said they were never behind.
Yes, that's the point. Genji are also in a good
position. No. Listen, their leads are gained organically from just. Yeah, you see
what their champions are supposed to do, right?
I'm winning that. It's 1,400 tomorrow.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
So for me, when it comes to FlyQuest, FlyQuest did exactly what they needed to do. They actually exposed Genji. I actually never thought that was going to happen.
I think the biggest success of that series was getting SKT to ban out Smolder from them. You can't let Smolder go through. I genuinely think, based on that series, no team was going to let Smolder, even if they won that series, Smolder was going to be banned every game. Smolder is just perma-banned against that team. It's just ridiculous. He plays it well. If he doesn't get shut down, he wins the game for them.
I will also say T1 are a terrible Caitlyn Braum team. They should stop picking that because every time they picked it, they got blown out completely.
I think his win rate on Caitlyn is very good.
Sure didn't show it to me, but
you just based it off that one game. But I'm just
actually several games he did this. Just
he's one of the best Caitlyns in the world for a reason.
Yeah.
If any of those hit, I want at least 1%.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, man.
KD 1 hit.
1,400. I think I won. I was about to get 700 today. I ended up with only getting 100 based on what's it called?
Yeah, share this love with me. What the hell?
Oh no, I'm telling you. What's his name? Anthony Edwards. I bet under 27 today. I bet under 27.
Did you hear that LeBron's gonna bench his son?
LeBron is not the coach. He doesn't get to bench his son. LeBron's.
He has the way to do it.
Bronny James is going to the G League so he can develop, and I genuinely think. And you know what's crazy? I don't even think Bronny James is the worst on that team.
That's what people said.
Right.
That's what people said going into the
I think he's better than Gabe Vincent. I think Gabe Vincent's so bad. Gabe Vincent should retire, and Bronny James.
I hate people. My brain. I genuinely hate people from the selection. From what happened. People said Bronny should not be here. Okay,
Bronny
now he's going back to the G League.
The 55th pick in the second round. How many times has that ever panned out?
No, what I'm bringing up is like people said he shouldn't be here, and then about what we've had 2 weeks of gameplay, he's gone. It's like
that's not the issue. He got a guaranteed contract.
That guaranteed contract was a little weird. I agree with that. I'll agree with that.
That's the part that's bullshit.
Yeah. I'll agree with
that nigga need to be in college. He don't.
Don't you find it weird that people literally said average like retarded people like myself when it comes to basketball. That guy doesn't belong on the team. Well, I mean, we'll give him a shot.
Listen,
we knew it wouldn't work out. Did you believe
it? Did you think there was no good players left?
Did you think he was going to work out?
I still don't think it's impossible he could.
It happened just the way I thought.
He's not the worst player on the Lakers.
No, even outside of that, I even said they're going to play him for like 4 games, which they almost did, and they got rid of him.
He's not as bad. He's not as bad as people make it. He's not good.
Me, I don't got no issue with him getting drafted at the 55th pick.
Yeah.
My issue is the guaranteed contract.
The guaranteed contract was stupid. I agree.
That was bullshit.
Like, he should not get a guaranteed contract. It's a little weird, but
I understand why they did it with him. You throw him out there, maybe he plays better under pressure and he pops off. And they did it. He just can't play under pressure.
And then this nigga still live at home with his parents.
Yeah, he does. I love it so much.
This motherfucker got his car. LeBron James pours cereal in this nigga's car, and then pulls up in another car and told him.
Ronnie was like, "You're too old for this."
Yeah,
I love those two. I genuinely think LeBron James did his job as a father, regardless.
So let's go over the LPL.
Much more than his father, because we don't know what the fuck he is.
For the LPL, Scout almost wasn't at Worlds. Yagal was going to be for them. Gala spent some millions of dollars to make sure Scout came.
It was $1 million in yen. It was like $700,000.
Yeah, $700K.
It was $700K American equivalent dollars.
He literally was like, take $700,000 away out of my bank to not play with Yagal.
Plus somebody else that spent another $500,000.
Yeah.
Plus, it was.
Because for me, the reason why I didn't think LNG would do well, I think they make top 8. I said they make top 8. They would lose last year. I don't really just believe in most of their players. I don't think they're that good, honestly. I think they're just benefiting from the LPL. Like the LPL is pretty weak. If you've been watching it.
To me, LNG got lucky because they
just have Scout. That's their whole team.
I'm gonna tell you why LNG got to World. LNG got to World because they called Weibo. Coming off a back-to-back from getting to finals, getting whooped by BLG, and then they got to play the next day. These niggas don't even get a 24-hour break. This motherfucker, hey, guys, we know you just lost the finals, but you got to go play LG now.
It's unfortunate that they have – I genuinely don't think that team is far away from being a very competent team. And I do think they could have done well at Worlds if just they had a different support. I think that really was the big difference maker. Because I think – Zika he's mediocre, not horrible. He can do what you ask him to, and that's like all you have to expect from him. I think I put him on slightly below the level of Breathe. But, I mean, Gala used to be arguably one of the best ADCs in the world.
He's someone where now, even if he gets a lead, it doesn't matter.
It's because when you don't have a good team surrounding, especially a support, and you don't have the peel, you can't look good on an ADC.
Can they get rid of Hong? Please.
Hong needs to go. Hong needs to go. That's regardless of the situation. Next year, he should not be on the team.
That's the thing. Yeah. These group players, I watched LPL for a long time. If these guys were playing 5 years ago, they would get laughed out of the league. Like,
I don't agree. I don't think they're that bad. And I think that with the way they were playing in their first 3 games of Swiss stage, I was impressed with.
I think the quality of the LPL massively dipped for them to get this far. I think last year they had hope, but T1 kind of booty blasted them pretty hard, honestly. That was pretty bad. The whole team identity is Scout. They have no true secondary reliable carry in their team. Gala, it feels like he just doesn't care anymore. He just is playing just because.
You don't get to play ADC if your team's front line is not good. That's just how it works. ADC is one of the most team-dependent roles in the game. So every time you see a bad ADC, you have to look at his team surrounding him to be actually able to see if he's good or not. That's just the unfortunate part.
Hong, world champion. You guys see it? I don't.
I will cry if that happens because I think one of the key points of world champions is that every single world champion that support was one of the best players in the world at the time they won those worlds. Besides 2017.
Weibo themselves were pretty bad most of the year.
I don't like Weibo.
Weibo, the format changed. People remember in the LPL. It changed, and they were honestly winless. Somehow got to the next stage. They managed to actually make the finals. They actually upset Top Esports themselves, and they lost.
Weibo, the LPL version of Mad Lions.
Yeah.
between them and
Ninja
Pajamas.
And the LPL themselves have been stacking super teams. Like, really think of it. Weibo has some strong players on paper, if you think about it. Tarzan, Xiaohu, Light and Crisp. Breathe, I guess, just is there for the ride at this point. Like, Weibo basically kind of, this is what Xiaohu always does now. He doesn't really win spring anymore. He just scales up with the year.
I think Xiaohu is very, and it's hard to say he's either the most overhyped person or he's the most underappreciated person. It's so hard to find somebody who really.
Last year, he didn't try at all. I don't know how that man weighed world. He was garbage last year. Man was complete.
When he switched to top and won MSI, I was like, that's impressive. I was impressed. It's hard.
I've never seen someone do that ever.
It's never.
But he was a legitimately good top laner too, because most people roll swap and they're not as good. He legitimately roll swap and was good.
There's a few people like Core JJ when he was an ADC was dog water. Like he was legitimately bad. I was like, this guy came over to NA, played ADC. And I was like, why are you even here? Went over to Korea, switched to support, and was genuinely amazing. And he was very good. And especially, I just want to point out, I appreciate Core JJ for having a bounce back year. I think not the whole year, but this Worlds was very good from him.
Yeah, he was pretty bad for a while. Up until then. Yeah. What else is there? BLG. I mean, they upgraded tonight. They got to Worlds Finals. They lost to Weibo last year in top 4. They managed to 3-0 them this year. And they were one game away from winning it. So, I mean, it's hard to say BLG's year was bad. They got to MSI finals. They made every finals of every split, made finals of every single international event. To me, I won't call it a failure, but they didn't win the international events. I don't know how they weigh that. I don't know, honestly. To be fair, they were a lot closer to winning Worlds at MSI. I mean, Gen.G kind of actually beat the shit out of them, honestly. That's pretty unfair. But the only tournament they did bad was when T1 beat them at EWC in the first round. That was pretty much it. I mean, I think if you just change out the team is stronger. But I think
I think one of the biggest problems with BLG is I genuinely don't think. I mean, I think they're good, and I think that on getting switched out would be a major upgrade for them. I think they're going to have to make a change next year because I don't think the things that they did this year are going to fly next year. I assume people are going to adapt to it. I don't think. Passively, and again, it's something that they did genuinely throughout the entire year. Passively waiting for the enemy team to make mistakes is one of the biggest weaknesses that Gen.G had, and this is exactly what BLG did throughout this entire Worlds. It recruit his very old league. I want to point out, I used to be on a semi-pro team on League of Legends for the longest time, and now I'm a washed old man. I was so obsessed with League for the longest time. Went over to Korea because I wanted to watch some games, and they didn't even have them. I went over to Korea. My Korea trip was planned too late. I didn't get to watch a single game. I was so sad. But I genuinely think it's really impressive what BLG has done, but I don't think it's that good. I don't think they're one of the worst, and I won't say worst, but they are one of the lower end Worlds Finals teams we've seen in a while.
Also, like in the LPL, like just even from when they had Yagao and they started turning on, they've had some impressive records, like 33-5.
Sure. I don't
like crazy. So this team is good. It's just that final fight they had against T1 in that river when Knight missed his charm and they ran into a Galio and Xinjiao full ult. I'm like, wow, this team is because remember you said they were giga over, like they were giga aggressive. I was like, you know what? They're giga aggressive, but if they're that far ahead, I could see why they took the risk to do it. But that's just not when you do it. That's just bad.
When he flashed, missed the thing, I think there was a big situation where they should have probably backed up. If he didn't flash early, and they could have played a little more patiently, because with Knight being in the front, that was a little weird positioning on his part. Obviously, who expects Faker to flash? No one does. But
another thing Owner did in the fight that I didn't bring up last time, he charged his Xin. You know how the wave was there? He charged his Xin autos to have the knockup ready. It's another reason why you don't chase that guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's just normal, though. It's just special.
Their over-aggression is what cost. I honestly love that they were over-aggressive. I love seeing it, but their over-aggression cost them the entire game.
Well, I mean, I think the reality is, I think Faker was going to pull through no matter what. He was playing a little bit crazy. I don't usually hype up Faker this much because I do think he's been underperforming.
Yeah.
I don't think he's been that. I think this is the best he's looked since, honestly, maybe close to 8 years.
That underestimate how bad he was playing against Knight very well. He was really far ahead in that game.
He was winning lanes. That's not something I expected.
This man was turbo running it on Nasus earlier in the split of the year. I was like, man, this guy's broken. He bashed his head against the wall because he just couldn't beat Gen.G anymore. And he was like, I was like, is this man just done? He looked like he was about to be just straight up done. He couldn't beat Gen G. He couldn't beat Gen G2. And he was like, you know what? Am I just KT level at this point?
You know what's the crazy? I think Gen J would have beat BLG too. I do think they would have won that because BLG playing passively would have played right into their hands.
All I said about that, T1, and the reason why newbie 5 games is because I think both styles kind of even out against each other.
That's all I'm saying. Whichever Korean team got to the finals is going to beat BLG.
Yeah, I knew it would be closer against T1 because the styles are pretty much the same. Gen G's is a little bit more different, which would give them the edge. But that's it for China. I mean, I know you said they're going to start downsizing. I don't know if they're going to get rid of teams. They should.
I don't know what they said. Well, they shouldn't get rid of teams. The big thing about China is, do we expect them to start with this lack of interest that LPL is reporting? Do they start investing less money into the scene? That's the big thing we have to look out for.
They're having a salary cap. I think
salary cap doesn't make a difference. Salary cap is not the difference maker in this because salary caps have existed in China for like maybe 8 years. They came out in season 6.
I think if they got rid of a few teams, it would make. I'm not saying things easier to watch, but there's too many. I thought there's too many games. I would say there's a lot of teams there that no one cares about in general. I think 17.
Well, no, the difference in China is that every single team probably has a bigger fan base than most every other team in the world. That's just how big they are. That's how big the teams are in China.
World Elite probably has more fans than Shopify Rebellion.
They do. That's not even a question. World Elite is one of the biggest teams. They had Wei Zhao.
Yeah, they were big for a long time. They just never been able to get to that point again. Ever since 2017, they haven't been that good. Yeah, long time. LGD too. LGD world finalists. No, they just
LGD when they had Imp, arguably the most hyped team come from China.
What was the most hyped LPL team? LGD.
LGD is up there.
Probably.
LGD coming out
many
of
EDG rosters, I would say.
There's 2005 EDG. All
right.
Oh my God.
Let's just go to the LCK. LCK. Really much. We had DK. Okay, there was 3 teams. There was Hanwha Life, there was T1, and there was Gen G. I'll be honest here, T1
DK don't count. DK don't count.
I'm not going down that road. If you watch DK throughout the entire, you knew they were fucking frauds.
I did think they were frauds, but I mean, I didn't think they would miss out on top 8. That was impressive to me from it. Honestly.
I knew they was going to miss out top 8 because they did it last year.
And I thought because Lucid just is flaccid on the map. He's just bad. So bad. I was like, no way this team can make top 8 with Kingen. If you make top 8 with Kingen, burn Worlds to the ground. I don't want to watch this tournament anymore. This is all frauds.
Once I saw the matchups, once I saw the matchups in like that 2-2 match, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, DK's going home. They're done.
I don't.
Rainer, I will say this. I said this going into World. If Showmaker can't carry them, they can't make top 8. Their players are just too. I had hope in Aiming. Aiming didn't show up either.
Aiming wasn't that bad. I don't think he played that bad. I think you're overestimating that.
I hate you so much. God,
well, I mean, you're literally exaggerating how bad Aiming was. I mean, Aiming wasn't that bad.
I never thought Kingen was all that good. I thought when he won Worlds, he was pretty fraudulent. I watched him on Hanwha Life. I've seen this guy most of his whole career. I've seen him on Hanwha Life. He was pretty bad on Hanwha Life. I saw him this year too. I just didn't think they had good enough standard players to make top 8, honestly. So Hanwha Life, well, they're easier to go. I mean, Peanut, hashtag free the nut. No, I'm just kidding.
Peanut was the best player on that team this Worlds, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it's unfair to really put any blame on him because he just genuinely did play well.
He played better this year than last year in the top 8, I'll say.
And I genuinely think that, well, I mean, his first game, the reason they won that first game is because of him. He literally solo carried that.
He's not mechanically gifted that much anymore, but his mind is so good for the game. If you can channel that, he can win. It's probably super frustrating for him that he can win the LCK, get top 8. He's just been bombing in top 8 last couple of years. He had the Gen G roster. He bombed out. I'll say bomb out in top 4, but he made top 4 kind of. It's so weird at this point because Doran is like good in the LCK, but just a shitter at Worlds. I don't get it.
But
he can literally outplay Zeus when it matters. And
Doran is the type of top laner that when you don't hear anything about him, that means he has a good game. Because you never hear anything. That's just the reality of Doran. Doran is not one of those players that when you see him, you're like, wow, that guy's good. He's like, you're hoping that people aren't being like, wow, he's that bad. That's what you're hoping from Doran. Doran is not a good player. He literally just he just plays exactly how you expected, and he really is good at weak side, which I appreciate. That's something that you really can't expect. He's not like Zeus, who can play weak side and also play strong side. He's not like that. He can play weak side, but he can't play strong side. That's why they don't play around him.
For Hanwha Life, did people expect they were gonna win Worlds? I think most people thought BLG were gonna win Worlds over Hanwha Life.
Yeah.
No, I think. Well, I mean, just reality. You literally picked Hanwha Life to win that series.
No, because I said I wanted Gen G to win, so I'm not gonna pick them at any point. To win Worlds in my predictions, I put Hanwha Life to win Worlds because I felt like Gen G wasn't gonna do it for me. And was I right this time? I love being right, but. Yeah, I'll be honest here. BLG was the worst matchup that they could have gotten. That's stylistically the matchup you do not want to face for Hanwha Life.
Showmaker is not the new king.
Shoemaker.
I will not call him that. BLG looked strong there for the entirety of 2024. I mean, the fact that Hanwha even got first place is surprising to everybody. I don't think anybody expected it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's just what it is.
Let's do Gen G next. Gen G is such a weird. I actually have a video that I'm going to do about Gen G's international affairs. So obviously, I'm a genius at League of Legends, and I can easily break down everything. Gen G had the first time they made top 4 was against Cloud9. Remember at Worlds 2021, they actually lost to EDG. They actually make their first top 4 ever at Worlds facing Cloud9. That is, and then they also lost to the G2 Super Team in top 8 in 2020. Did they make that year? 2022. What was that one? Oh, it was the DRX one. It was the DRX one.
Yeah,
they lost to DRX in top 4. 2023. They lost to BLG when Chovy thought he could pick a Kali into Nico and Oriana. So, all right.
Stop living in the past, old man. What happened this year?
In 2024, I don't even know. FlyQuest exposed them so hard, their brains actually mentally deteriorated.
The only thing that really got exposed is the Smolder pick. I think everything else was pretty much what we could expect. Everything about Gen G we knew. And that's why I was really upset with how T1 played into them. Even though they won, they played into the strengths of Gen G for zero reason. Playing passively in the early game and letting them scale.
If we're looking at it from a team, Gen G are the better team. If we're looking just from a team aspect. But T1 are just the smarter. They were just the better team at the tournament, honestly.
You think that players-wise is not even close. T1 has way better players than Gen G.
Yeah, but I think Gen G have better players at pushing the tempo of the game. It's
the exact opposite. Gen G is a passive team, and they always have been for the past 5 years. I think they have the same play style that they've had for many, many years. And the reason that they are hard to punish is because teams essentially dive into you and try and force out mistakes early game, and they don't really tend to do that because Gen G is one of the few teams that if you let them play the game the way they want to, they are not going to make any mistakes. I think FlyQuest was able to punish them because they genuinely didn't prepare for FlyQuest. I think that's the only reason they even made mistakes. Yeah. For the most part, Gen G's strengths...
They hadn't lost to T1 the entire year. They beat them pretty convincingly every single time they faced, maybe outside of one of the best of 3s.
I don't really care about that. I'm going to base on how I think.
No, but that's the thing. That means they're not better. If I've beaten you 11
think the reason that
row, that doesn't. I wouldn't say you're better.
I think that the way that T1 plays is that they adapt to every single team except for Gen G some reason. That's always been ever. They still didn't adapt to Gen G at Worlds. They literally didn't do it. I don't think they adapted at all. They played the same exact
people
play style.
Say that they were a better team.
I don't know why they and this is my biggest question because the way they played against top esports, no, it's just I don't know.
Well, Lehen's definitely choked.
The reason I think it is I think T1 is scared to play the way that you have to play to beat Gen G. T1 is scared to do it because the way it happens is you have to be proactive in the early game, which is very coin flip. It's a very coin flip way to play the game. You have to play the game in a way that essentially puts your characters that are at their weakest points that can't do all the mechanics they're able to do.
Do you think it was a mental block then? Because
I don't think it's a
mental. It felt like when T1 got past the mental block against them, they just were able to beat them pretty consistently.
Well, it's not even about that. I don't think the reason that they're not able to beat Gen G is because of the fact that they are the one team in the world they don't adapt to. They changed the way they played the game.
Chovy is better than Faker if we're talking about just being from a domestic sense. He's pretty
I'm not even just I'm talking just mechanically show, and it's not even just about that. I'm not going to talk about individual players. I'm going to talk about the play styles of the teams because the individual players I think are in favor of.
I think T1's play style got better as Worlds went, and I think Gen G's got worse.
I'm not even because the way it works, T1 top esports this is the best series that T1 played. I think this is the single best series that T1 played at the tournament.
Did you really see Top Esports set series, though?
They played the game in a way that frustrated Top Esports to the point where they tried to avoid them around the map while taking objectives because Top Esports played an engage-heavy team, and they were able to force this problem to the point where Top Esports only knew how to force a fight by forcing Baron. So you saw that. They forced Baron 25 minutes into the game because they could not get on top of T1. They couldn't force T1 to fight them, forced a fight, and they lost the game because of it. And they mentally imploded after game 1. They just were never the same team after that.
They had the clutch factor in game 4, and they brought it back. And then Keem made the flash poppy play, and then all three of them, they were so desperate to win that game. They could have just played out that fight and won it, and then they just all griefed and lost it. It just reeked of desperation.
I mean, I think one of the big problems with Gen G is the fact that they are still very, very slow in the early game. They still play this slow play style, and they will. And that is the biggest reason FlyQuest was even able to take games off them. Is because
also,
Gen G is a reactive team. They are a reactive team. This is the way they play the game. They are always slow paced, and they will always essentially, if you don't push the letter, if you don't push the tempo on them, they're going to win the game
in the LCK.
It doesn't really matter. They still played this way at Worlds. It doesn't matter what their past was.
What do you mean? But they're not. That means they're not a passive team. If they play,
so if you look at any one of their series, they made 0 proactive plays in the early game besides reactive plays. Every single one of them.
You just playing standard.
You're comparing early game leads because they win.
You do know that playing fast doesn't mean you just run around the map and do stupid stuff, right?
Tell me what else you can do in the early game that's proactive if you don't go get objectives.
You do know that you can play a fast early game by actually just doing nothing. You can just play your standard lane.
That's called laning phase, and the reason that you think they have a good
that's
early
not
game...
Being
listen, that is being passive. So the reason you think they have a good early game, based on stats, is because you think
they won games in sub 25 minutes.
Yeah, that doesn't... that's fair enough to say. I'm not even trying to take away from their
what?
The way they played throughout the entire year.
Chaz,
the way they played at Worlds... The way they played at Worlds was slow and reactive, and that's the way they played throughout the entire thing.
No, it's just weird for you to say that when they have a passive play.
Okay, tell me any series at Worlds they played.
You said they had a passive play style.
Stop trying to ignore what I said.
Any team
Listen
at the
to
tournament.
Me. What series did they play aggressive in?
The Hanwha Life one?
I'm talking about at Worlds. We're talking about Worlds.
That was best of 3. That's a series.
Well, yeah, fair. Yeah, that is true. I'm not trying to talk. I'm talking about the top of 8, though.
Did they beat LG?
We're talking about top 8.
Okay. I was saying in games 2, 3, games 2, 4, and 5, they did.
They did no. Game 2 of FlyQuest series, they did not play passively.
He made practice plays around the map. What are you talking about? He ganked bot lane 3 times.
He was not.
I don't know how that passive.
He was 6 ganks behind. His first gank was after like 5 or 6 ganks through.
Yes, because it is much easier to pull off Nunu ganks than Nidalee ganks.
It's Nidalee. Nidalee literally gets red buff, and she just is one of the better junglers in the game.
What do you think is easier to hit, a big snowball or your spear?
Okay, that's fair enough to say. All you have to do is get red buff and auto attack them. That's literally what Nidalee does. Nidalee red buff auto attacks and is able to chase people down drastically.
They also did play very fast in the game against T1 that they won. The game 2 where they picked Caitlyn Braum. They completely shut them out of the game. I'm saying they have
they didn't even do anything. They literally just laned. They got some ganks off, but they'll get 1 or 2 ganks at the most.
Yes.
And then they transition that into one of the objectives.
What I'm saying is I don't know what happened to them because they didn't win EWC, they got blown out of that. They didn't win the Summer Split, and they didn't win World. So the trajectory was this team's supposed to basically win everything.
They drastically in the late game, every single time is where they popped off. Towards the Summer Split, their pace of games drastically slowed down towards the later half of it. I mean, that's just the stats show it. It's just the reality is they did not play fast. They were a reactive team.
Remember game 1? They actually could have just beaten them 2-0.
Well, no, you're not understanding. You think a mindset of getting a lead early game amounts to a proactive early game. That's what
that's what you've been saying. What I'm saying,
that's the exact opposite of what I'm saying. What I'm saying is just
because you have a lead doesn't mean you know how to play it out effectively.
No, you think that. So the way Gen G works is they get a lead. And for the most part, unless the team is really bad, they can't close out the game. They will not close out the game.
That's why I brought the Hanwha Life game. Remember the one they were winning? They could have just won 2-0.
If they get a 10,000 gold lead.
The team fight they had, remember against where Viper just flashed something and they lost the game based on a team fight. They were winning the entire game. They were winning everything. And they just I don't know why that keeps happening.
It's because that's who they are. I mean, I don't think what you're quite. The problem with Gen.G is the fact that they are literally playing at a. They will make ganks and then they will play standard and wait out the game. That is how they play. They play reactive. Most of the ganks that happen are reactive ganks that they react to and not proactive ones that they make. That's just how Gen.G works.
Most teams in the LCK do that. They starve you out of the game.
That's starve you out of a game. They are laning well, and that is the biggest. Their mindset around the game is bad. Yes. That is the reason.
So the reason that dragons, I think that they would get more void grubs. They
didn't get more of every. So they always secured one of the objectives. That's how they worked.
Yeah,
that's what every team does. That's not special.
T1 just has a role. Yeah, maybe it's just T1's role, but I will say this: every time they face internationally, T1's won. At MSI last year, they faced. T1 did manage to win pretty convincingly too in some of those games as well.
I think one of my biggest problems with T1, or one of my biggest problems with, I mean, T1 just literally played the same. What's up?
No,
T1 played the way that I thought they shouldn't against Gen.G and ended up winning anyways because I think their players were just better. I'm very happy about that. I do think T1 was. I was hoping for them to win, to be honest.
It's just crazy seeing how Chovy continuously beats Faker, just can't do it when I don't know. But this thing, it's not just against Faker. He couldn't do it against Zeka. He couldn't do it against Yagao.
Well, let's just look at
Zeka and Yagao are pretty bad compared to him. I just don't know.
It's just historically, Gen.G has underperformed at Worlds because of the way they play the game. That's just
but
how
a constant player they've had has been Chovy.
Yeah, but it's not because Chovy. One of the biggest problems Chovy had in 5 seasons ago was that he did not play for the lanes. He played standard laning, which hasn't been a thing since season 5.
Yeah,
and didn't transition well into Worlds. This time, I don't think he plays like that anymore. He's a lot more proactive.
I think he's made terrible
he's
mistakes.
Well, yeah, but his gameplay has drastically improved this year. I think he's a better player than he was in the past few seasons.
I think the reason why they lost mostly it comes on the back of I think Lehan's just underperformed mostly throughout the tournament, and Keen himself has basically just been doing that thing that Nuguri did that I didn't like. He would just play up in lane and just play up. He would never actually fall back and actually play defensively, even when he was ahead. I think Keen is a big reason why they lost that series.
I think they lost. Well, I'm not even disagreeing with that. I think Gen.G should have won the series against SKT because SKT didn't adapt to them. I thought that was really unfortunate for them. But all around, I think a lot of the strongest points of Gen.G.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Do you think it makes logical sense people would pick them given their record against them?
I genuinely thought that T1 was going to win based on their top esports series. When I watched game 1 of the Gen.G T1, I honestly thought it might be a 3-0 for Gen.G. I was like, this is not the T1 I saw in the top esports series.
I was the opposite. I thought it was going to be 3-2 for T1.
Because they didn't look like they came into the game and played a very snail's pace game, which is very much what if Gen.G gets that against any other team in the world, they just win the game. And I don't know.
That's why I thought Ashe was a high priority pick for Gumayusi. Whenever Ashe is on their team, they just play the early game out more effectively. That's why Ashe was a priority pick for both teams. Yeah.
To me, Gen.G lost game 1 on draft. I saw the draft. I was like, oh yeah, no, Gen.G can't play this out to effectiveness.
I'm just saying, game 2, owner picked Kindred, and that guy never picked Kindred almost ever. That guy looked like he was running it on stage.
Once I saw game 2, I was there like, okay, cool.
Okay, T1. Okay, just next game. Just
yeah. I saw that. I was like, all right, yeah, okay. This go to at least 4 games.
Yeah, and I think Dad just said it on the desk too. Gen.G just did not beat. Gen.G were not prepared for what T1 were throwing at them. I mean, if you just look at game 1 and game 3, they were just.
I don't know what did T1 throw at them. What did T1 throw at them that was unique?
They were matching them in the early game, which they hadn't been doing ever.
Gen.G Gen.G this entire tournament really just did not. I mean, look at the FlyQuest series. Pretty much showed that was the exploitable weakness is if you play aggressively in the early game and Gen.G doesn't react properly, they fall behind. Gen.G, you can't let Gen.G equalize the early game and mid game because they will win the late game.
We'll just talk about T1. I mean,
there's not much to talk about.
They did the DRX story. They were the 4th seed in one world. I just don't know where he gets this buff from. It's different players every single time with this guy.
I don't think Faker looked that. I honestly think the other worlds, the last 2 or 3 worlds, they could have won with other mid laners. This world's
2023.
The world's the one.
Yeah, I don't. Yes. If they had Showmaker against Weibo, yeah, sure. Anyone beats Weibo. I agree with that.
I think they could
have had Jensen to beat Weibo at the way Weibo's
so fraudulent.
I think if they won,
Weibo could do a 3v1 fight against Dave. At that point, I was like, just give T1 a trophy.
2022 against DRX.
That was a coin toss. That's a coin toss. That's one.
Zeka was playing pretty well that World.
I'm just saying, if they honestly, I think they could have possibly won the World Championships would have been later. Faker has not been that good in the past few Worlds. I do think he won, and I do think he was serviceable, but he has not been that guy. And this Worlds, he was the best mid laner in the world.
That's
he was
why
the best player
didn't
in the world.
Believe in him going in. I really understand. World as a tournament is what casuals watch. I understand that, and people are going to be like, "Well, the regular season doesn't matter." That's not, but that's the caveat, though. In playoffs, just from the summer, because that's the most recent one. In summer, they didn't look good. In the playoffs, I'm told the regular season. Playoffs, they did not look good at all. That's why that's what people thought they weren't going to do well going to the tournament. It had nothing to do with regular season, though. Playoffs, they looked pretty bad. They were barely beating KT. They lost to DK. They barely made it to Worlds. They were fourth ranked for a reason. Most people, the only reason why they thought they were going to do well was because we said it. Well, Faker just does well at Worlds. That's our only real reason we had, right? That's the only reason I had. Because they were never beating Gen G. Hollow Life beat them pretty consistently in the summer split too. So they were outmatched by both of them. BLG beat them in every best of 5 they played before that. So they were worse than the 3 teams we were playing against. We saw them play. They were just not as good as they were. But they just showed up at the tournament. It's just that's how Worlds is. The team that always adapts to the tournament meta shows up. Last year they did it. Genji beat them one time, and they were like, you know what? I'm going back to my other play style. And they won the whole thing.
Plus once to me, Hollow Life peaked in that finals. I don't think Hollow Life is gonna get any better after that final. Like, no, Hollow Life is gonna peak right here. And once they lost to Gen G, I was like, no, Hollow Life ain't winning Worlds. I knew in the back of my mind, Hollow Life.
You weren't gonna trust them.
No, I thought Hollow Life will get knocked. If Hollow Life faced a Chinese team or Gen G, or even I don't know about T1, but I said if they face a competent team in top 8, they're getting knocked out. Gen G, the way I looked at it was, I don't have faith in Chovy when it comes to pressure moments, and he's
just not clutch. It's proven he's just not a clutch player.
That summer finals is what showed me. I was like, Lehens needs to go.
Lehens has no hands.
That too. I don't know, something about Paige. Paige shrunk in the moment. He's not
as effective as a carry like he used to be. But that's because last year was playing with Delight. I don't know why they got rid of him, but
he shrunk in the moment. The best player on Gen G to me was Ken. He was the only one that was consistent where I was like, as long as he doesn't fall too far behind, I have faith in Ken. King, he was just not every top laner, but most of the top laners that he was going again, I'm like, they're going to beat him in lane. They beat him in lane. I was like, shit.
This way, he never lost lane to Bwipo. I guess that's his shining light. But he really did run it down in top 8. I was like, this man is just, what happened to this guy? He spent so many years on bad rosters. He finally got the roster that he wanted and just kind of.
What are we talking about? I was zoned out.
He might have just blew his chance, honestly. Because if we're looking at Gen G's roster, I mean, the CEO, he's been very open about finances and stuff. Chovy likes being on Gen G. I don't think he goes anywhere. I don't think any other org he likes being in Gen G. I think Chovy's safe. They had to cut down how much they paid Kenya to get him on the roster.
Well, I do want to point out every one of Gen G's contracts expires in 11 days.
Oh, you're right.
Every single
they would have to re-sign Chovy,
including the coach. Every single person is expired.
Even Mata? I don't think Mata was ever as good as Coach's Score, though. I don't know why they got rid of Score, honestly. I think Score was so much more better.
I genuinely think. Well, I mean, Gen G hasn't looked good ever. I don't care what anybody says. I really think they should have a better coach. I think that what's his name would be.
I think they were much more smarter on the map with Score. I think Mata's thing has always been aggression, think second. I think that definitely showed in the playstyle as the.
What did they do? Why do you keep saying aggression? They just lane strong.
I hate you. So, what else is there? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Unless T1 and Gen G start doing swaps, I don't know what Gen G does. Do they go? Do they pay 2 strong players, rookies? I honestly don't know. Because they have less of a budget than Homolife does. They have less of a budget than T1 does.
Okay.
I would like to see what you think would be a good upgrade.
I got a question for both of you.
Yeah.
Ruler on Gen G. Yes or no?
Well, Ruler was on Gen G at one point.
He was on Gen G. They also didn't win with him either.
But they did win. Him going back to Gen G.
I think that would be a good. I think it'd be an upgrade, and I do think they could have done better at Worlds. I think they could have had a possibility.
But does Ruler already have a team?
No. He's just doing hypotheticals.
Wasn't Ruler on EDG? He's supposed to be on EDG.
There's a rumor that there's a rumor EDG. There's a rumor Top Esports. There's a rumor Weibo. There's a bunch of rumors.
Let me see.
I think
they said Knight's going to be leaving BLG. Like,
oh, okay, you're right. I haven't seen anything yet. I just want to make sure I wasn't. Okay, I honestly don't know.
I think their top side is very good. I do think Keen is a little bit better than he played at this Worlds. I think he could do a little bit better. I think most of your budget should go to Chovy. If you want to having Chovy will secure you being a top team. I think you should make sure he's on your team. If you lose everybody but keep Chovy just goes back to the place he was before, which was struggling.
Yeah,
I mean, I think one of the biggest things
more active. Yeah,
I think Chovy is one of those people that hammers you into a playstyle. That is one thing that Chovy does do. Even though he has been a little bit better this year, he is still a farm first, scale into late game kind of person. That's what he does. That's why Gen G's playstyle hasn't adapted for so long.
But you don't want to downgrade yourself domestically so much that you just aren't a competitive team anymore. That's the thing.
Well, it doesn't change anything. But I'm just saying they're not going to be. Chovy has hampered every team that he's been on has been the same exact play style for a reason. That's just what he does.
Yeah.
Every single thing he does makes it to where no matter how proactive you are in the early game, it can't amount to a one game unless the team is horrible. He just can't because he will not press his lead until he has 2 to 3 items. It just won't happen. He won't press it. He won't try and he doesn't want to force team fights. He wants to passively farm. He wants to try and slowly get objectives by having that lead and having vision. That's not smart to do in this day and age. You have to push your leads. That's just what you have to do because it hampers you into scaling mid lane. That's why you couldn't let them get smolder because if you let him scale on a scaling champion, the game is over.
When he had Tristana, he knew how to play the game out, but that was he also had 2
he's not bad, and I do think if Chovy's mechanics were in the mindset of Showmaker, the world would be over. He would be the best mid laner of all time.
Yeah, he's not a clutch player. Like Faker knows how to make the clutch moment to win you a game. He just doesn't. I think if for Gen G and you don't want to downgrade and lose to T1, you have to keep Chovy.
It's fine. I really think unless Chovy really, really, really switches his playstyle, if he doesn't do that, you can never win Worlds with him. I honestly am starting to think it's not.
I guess
possible.
they'll just be an MSI merchant.
Well, I'm just like his playstyle doesn't work in modern League of Legends.
He needs a jungler that will activate him in lane.
There's nothing.
Canyon never really activated him in Canyon.
But Canyon is one of the best junglers of all time.
But Canyon can't activate only did his own thing. He never really had good synergy with Chovy.
You don't gank mid lane. That's just not what you do. It's really
hard
to
does.
Do.
What are you talking about?
It's hard to gank mid. It's the hardest lane in the game. If
I'm
consistently
pure synergy, like Chovy and Canyon never really had good synergy anyway.
That's on Chovy because Chovy doesn't lead mid lane. Chovy teleports sometimes. He'll roam very periodically, but he sits there. He sits in mid lane and farms.
And that's the thing. If T1's roster has to come up because of money, I think T1 need to keep Gumayushi and Keria. I think
T1 has to keep everybody. Those are all beside the only person you could really replace, and I still think it's not something you want to, is Owner. Owner is the worst player on the team, but he's still
Owner's been really consistent.
That's what I'm saying. He's a top, probably top 6, top 5.
Bring Peanut back.
No. Top 6, 5. Well, that would actually be an upgrade. But I don't think you need to replace Owner because he's good. Owner is a good player.
I would say for them, your priority. I mean, Faker's never leaving. That's not even on the table.
Yeah.
Harry and Gumayushi, you need to keep the bot. That bot lane is the best bot lane when they're ever on.
Yeah, and if honestly, you have to keep Zeus too. Zeus is the best top laner in the world almost.
That's what I said. What if T1 just grab Canyon?
I think keeping Owner is fine. Because the synergy's there. The synergy is obviously there with them.
I heard rumors they're going to be making roster changes, but I don't know who you swap them.
Why would you? You just won Worlds a second time.
I would just say this. I think most people, when they play with Faker, he'll get the best out of anybody. That's just what it is.
I think I'm not going to get I think his ability to draw pressure around the map is the big thing. I think that's one of the big things he does, and that's why always, even when he's playing bad, that's always his big thing, is he draws pressure into a side lane when there's objectives on the opposite side.
Oh my god, they can get umpty.
They could, and
Team
they
Liquid
could also. They could definitely do that.
They could do a jungle swap. T1, give Team Liquid owner and umpty to T. That might be the biggest downgrade of all time if you do that.
That might be the biggest upgrade of all time for Team Liquid.
Yeah.
Oh god, I honestly don't know. Yeah, the reason why this is a problem in the offseason is because all these teams have substantially some of the best players in their role to the point where like getting rid of them is so hard because it's not about just getting someone better. I don't believe in a world you can't get someone better. I know they can. It depends on
better than who.
That's the problem though.
Well,
if you already have a top player in their role, then
like Genji, you could replace ADC. I think ADC and
I was supposed to support first. That's
I think Lehens is a more valuable piece than Baze.
There's no way. Not even
close. I'm gonna tell you this. See how Life is feeling about the Light. If they're like 50-50, put them back on the team.
I would say so.
My opinion. I would not keep.
I don't think Delight's playstyle matches well with a Worlds winning team. He's just not a roaming support, and I don't.
That was his big thing, was playing engage support.
He doesn't roam, is what I'm saying. It doesn't matter about engage.
Because Paze is primarily laning base.
You can literally, the reason that Paze and Lehens, what's it called? That Delight didn't work on this team is because he was a laning first support, and that's just not something you want.
Might have been Peanuts' thing because he was running the team itself. So,
well, no, I really think that Lehens roaming around the map made this team better. Even they weren't good enough to win Worlds. Delight was not going to help them. The difference was not support.
Well, he sure was
the difference
more than them.
What? No. What'd you just say? You just call him fat?
He is fat, just like Noah. Two fat fucks. God damn.
That's not funny.
I don't know. Unless T1 replaces Guma Yusi with like Ruler, it doesn't make sense to do it.
She's better than Ruler now. I don't even care.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even replace him. There's no upgrades.
Goes to Genji.
Yeah. The only upgrades you can make are in the I genuinely think there's an argument for every person in their role besides jungle to be the arguably top in their role.
So you think both Genji and T1 should just keep the rosters they have?
I don't think the problem is it's hard for me to say because Chovy's arguably when he's playing well is the best mid laner in the world. But the problem is a play style like his really hampers a team from winning Worlds. If your goal is to win Worlds, it's hard for me to say that Chovy should be on the team because he just doesn't have a Worlds winning mindset.
Nope, he can't do it. They could always grab Fisher from Nongshim.
I mean, literally. I don't know about that. I mean, maybe go get Coco from retirement for 10 years.
Good lord.
CJ Antis, baby.
Yeah,
I love Coco.
Go grab Scout from LNG. Put him on Genji. That'd be pretty crazy.
If you put Scout on the team, I genuinely think they're better. Even though Scout is a worse player. Because Scout's mindset for the team, if you put Showmaker on this team, they're better. If you put literally any other mid laner besides a mid laner that defines your game style by late game team fighting.
Yeah.
Again, that's what Chovy does. That is why you rarely see them do these.
Because people said the same thing for G2. They were like, well, who can they bring in G2? I mean, there is like, you don't have to subject yourself to any roster. You can find better if you really want to. Because that's the mindset going in for SKT. It's like, before they got this roster, people were like, how would you ever replace Bang and Wolf? They did. How would you
Well, the problem with Bang and Wolf is that they were not playing that well.
They were consistent. That was their thing.
They were consistent.
They were consistently reliable. Actually, very
the thing about it is they replaced him with Teddy, who was just better than Bang.
Yeah.
But Teddy was...
I do believe that there is better out there, but it's like...
For who? For what team?
For T1, they found better throughout the years.
There's no one better. They genuinely could not.
You think they've actually peaked at roster building with this roster?
I do. This is the best roster of all time. I don't even think it's a question.
I mean, you have the BDS team from last year.
I think if they make you don't make upgrades when you win Worlds. I don't think that needs to happen.
But they're not. They weren't good throughout the year.
Who cares? They won Worlds. If you ignore
Worlds,
everything, winning Worlds is the only thing that matters.
If you ignore Worlds, they weren't good throughout most of the year.
If you don't ignore Worlds, they did the only thing that matters.
Yeah, so that's the problem, though. Do you think this roster can do that again next year?
They're good. I honestly think that Zeus, every single one of those, like who would you replace? Who would you replace?
Fucking hell. I would take now think about the rosters. Okay. TL6 for owner, upgrade. Aiming for Gumayusi. And Lehens for Carrier.
I don't know why you did the last two. Aiming is good. And I don't even want to take away from aiming. Aiming is a top 5.
I think that's the only player that Genji. I mean, Genji, you probably just change their bot lane. You probably get a stronger, more aggressive bot lane. But the Korean players right now, some of them look really weak.
I think Pays is and again, I think Pays is pretty good. I don't even want to take away from him. But Ruler, you were talking about Ruler earlier. Ruler is an upgrade. You get Ruler in there, that's an upgrade. I think getting a
Chovy to top.
I don't think Chovy top to T1 LMAO. Chovy literally is half the player Zeus is. I don't even want to hear it. Zeus is not only mechanically as good as him, he's just a way better mindset. I wouldn't if I could implant Zeus's mindset into Chovy.
You could put Viper on T1.
No, Viper's not better than Gumayushi.
You don't think so?
I think Gumayushi is the best ADC in the world. I genuinely believe that. I think Gumayushi is the best. How is that even that much of a reaction?
You're on the show now. Okay, no, you're on the show.
Gumayushi is better than. Gumayushi is an argument for the best ADC in the world. You can make it. It's an unarguable that Carrier is the best.
Take Uzi out of retirement.
Carrier is the best support in the world by far.
I wasn't even entertaining that as an option.
Yeah. Faker, how do you even replace him?
Yeah, they actually can't function without Faker.
You think Gumayushi is carried by Carrier? I don't think it's only that. I think his laning phase is.
We actually haven't seen him without a different ADC. That is true. Not ADC support. No, wait, we have. He was with
Teddy. He didn't he play with Teddy for a little bit?
He was swapped with actually he's only ever played with Carrier. Yeah, that's true. So Pace has played with 2 different supports. I'll give him that. He managed
Pace isn't as good as even regardless, the damage output that Gumayushi puts when he's not on that peeling support is still
he's still a top ADC with switching the supports around.
I think that so would Gumayushi be. Gumayushi is his damage output in the fights, regardless of the supports, is always the highest on T1.
No, but you're talking about potential. I don't think there is a potential upgrade. I think you take a side grade at best, and you hope in the long term it's an upgrade.
There is no upgrade long term for a 20-year-old. Gumayushi is one of the youngest people in the league.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, unless they get Viper or aiming. Unless they get
aiming
Viper,
is not better than Gumayushi.
I'm saying lateral moves that won't hurt the team mechanically.
It would hurt the team. It would hurt the team synergy. There's literally nothing you can do. The team chemistry when you win worlds is super high. You keep this team and run it back. I think T1 is the only team in the world that should make 0 roster moves. There's literally. You think there's another one that should make roster moves?
No, I'm saying T1 is the only one that shouldn't make roster moves.
Like. Life,
because you could say winning worlds kind of validated them keeping the roster together again.
I mean, it's not even just winning worlds; they won worlds back to back.
Actually, almost winning worlds 3 times. They were 1 game away.
Oh yeah, they were the runner, 1 game away from winning it 3 times in a row.
That's crazy. That's never happened before. Oh my god, Guma with effort would be so troll. Oh my god!
The one thing I will say is
Teddy has to play with effort and one with SKT.
I do think crazy. Teddy is very good. Well, it was very good back then. It was unfair to him.
If Gen G want to replace Pace with Viper, Aiming, or Ruler, he comes back. Those aren't bad in my opinion, I guess. But I mean, because it's just for me, it's just Gen G and T1. I don't know what Homolife is doing. Isn't Homolife's contracts all up too? I know those had one.
Let me see if Homolife's because I didn't.
Vipers is up.
Homolife's entire roster is not up. Vipers
not
up.
Even Viper? Yeah, Viper's up.
Delight is up and Doran's up.
All right, Doran back to Gen G. Let's run it back.
They could get so we could get Kingdom on Hamon and Doran on Gen G.
So basically 2023 rosters.
Yes. Gen G are all free agents. Yeah, Gen G is literally it's the end.
Yeah. I don't know, honestly. Yeah, it's gonna be this is such a hard offseason.
Hey, guess who is the only person that's roster is up in 11 days for Gen G or for DRX?
Kingen?
King is the only person.
For DK? That's up?
Yeah, his contract's up.
God. Whew. That guy's so troll. Unless Gen G get Mohab, that fat fuck. Oh my god.
You need to shut up with that.
Make a team full of fat LCK players, you got it. You got a Menace, Mig.
And they'll still pull more girls than you.
That's crazy. They have a Menace, Noah, and Mohab. We're gonna call it Fat Fuck Esports.
Kellen's up too. Oh, he is. Oh, you're right. Kellen is up too.
Kellen, who the fuck is that?
The support.
Kellen.
The support for DRX.
Oh, that doesn't count for anything.
The fact that you didn't even remember his name is the craziest part.
I forgot who the hell. I literally don't even know who the hell that is. I have to look it up. I forgot. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm sorry. Give me one moment to look him up. Kellen.
No.
Is he that super troll?
He's the guy that's literally behind the person you just called fat.
Oh, yeah. Kellen. Oh, no, please. No. He's what so team was trash.
He? I mean, he's been on this team for like a decade.
Dude. He got benched for bad gameplay when he should have been benched forever. Yeah, I remember. Okay, now I remember. Oh, who the fuck is Kellen? That guy is so bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for Worlds 2024. On Sunday, we're going to be talking about the LEC rosters and the offseason. So, yeah, we'll be officially in off-season mode coming up to Sunday. We haven't heard any LCS news outside of the format, honestly. And, 100 Thieves selling back the slot to Riot. We knew that was going to end up happening. Nadeshot's not even the CEO anymore. He just streams and he just wants to be an OTK model or some shit. Like, what is... He said, literally, if he could go back in time and tell his younger self not to invest in esports.
I feel I feel like Kellen's been on that team forever, though. Because, I mean, he was a backup for Jin Air years ago. That's all I remember about
him. Kellen was on their 2022 roster with Duck Dom, and he was on 2023. I have no clue why that fucking guy got 3 years of playing the LCK. That's criminal. You mean Dum Dum?
Yeah. Honestly, Beryl. I miss Beryl.
Beryl can actually make a team better if he's not the main carry.
Beryl was like unarguable. Like he was the best support in the world at one point.
I think he made 3 back-to-back World Finals too, like Carrier.
I think that Beryl is probably the second best support of all time. I'm trying to think of a better support than him that really can't.
Oh yeah, he did.
Really questionable.
2020 he won. He lost in 2021 and he won again in 2022.
Well, we knew Guma played with effort. I don't think anybody questioned that, but I didn't. Yeah, I don't know.
That made him. He's like, I have to leave this roster. This motherfucker's so trash. Effort probably is one of the. Who's the worst SKT? Oh, Untara is the worst SKT player. That guy.
No, Untara is not the worst SKT player.
Connor?
Tom
was actually pretty good in 2015. I'm sorry.
Connor?
Let's look at the past.
Connor, no, Untara was way worse than Connor. Untara was bad.
Untara was not the worst. I can guarantee that.
I would say Untara was up there. That guy, that top player they had named Thal was really bad. They had a guy called Blossom. He was pretty bad. They replaced Faker with Period at one point. Oh my! Even Faker couldn't stop the bench. Oh my!
There it is. I found him. It was stupid Blossom.
No, Untara was worse. That guy was so.
Untara was not worse than Blossom. Blossom
at least had some character potential. Untara was so bad.
It was Blossom. Let's see.
Blossom and these nuts in your mouth. No.
Another one was because I don't even remember Taehyun.
It's okay. Untara, Tom, Blossom,
Prophet. You remember Prophet?
Prophet. He was the
what's up?
Top laner?
He was the top laner, yeah. It was Prophet top. You don't remember
Prophet? I don't remember his gameplay that much. I don't remember him that
much. He literally went to Rogue. Do you not remember him on Rogue?
Bad.
Prophet Rogue?
Yep, bad. Prophet was bad. He was mechanically gifted. I think he just mentally imploded. No, EasyHoon was good. Don't let people fool you. EasyHoon was good.
You just trash talk EasyHoon in my presence?
Yes.
EasyHoon was a top, 3.
I'll say EasyHoon was good. I don't know. People didn't watch season 5. EasyHoon, keep in mind, EasyHoon was the only player they replaced him with Faker constantly, and they won.
In season 5, when he was playing, there was an argument to be made that half the roster EasyHoon was better on.
Yeah.
In season 5, which was close to Faker's prime.
Bengi's the one that's overrated.
I hate on Bengi.
Bengi in season. There's actually a video I had planned coming up. Bengi for season 7 for World. 7 is the big one because that's what people say he's clutch. That one is, if you look at that back of the year, is super questionable. But that's a story for another day.
Well, it's because he can play tanks. That was the big thing. Tom was a carry jungler, and
they had Blank. No,
Blank, yeah. Blank is not one of the worst. Blank was good.
No. Blank was not.
Blank was good.
Who else did they have?
I don't think.
Antara is the worst. If you really look at it, he's so trash.
I don't think Antara is worse than stupid.
They replaced Faker with Pyrian, EasyHoon, and remember that guy Closer who's on Fear X right now? They tried to swap him out with Closer a few times, and he played good on T1.
Oh my god, we forgot about one man. You forgot about two people. Who? We had both two top laners, which was Roach and Kana, were on that team.
Yeah, I said Kana.
I forgot about them.
I said Kana. I said.
Did you?
Yeah, I didn't know about Roach, but
I forgot that they were on that team until I looked it up.
Roach was a coach.
No, Roach was on the team as a top laner.
Backup, right? I don't think he ever played.
He did play. I do remember him playing.
He did?
Yes.
I swear he came out as a coach.
No, he's a coach now. In 2018 when he was on the team, he was playing.
Remember, Kana got replaced with Zays.
Yeah. That was the biggest upgrade of all time, maybe. That would be the biggest upgrade of all time.
Kana was losing to Khan and getting stomped by Khan. Khan's like 30 years old. I'm like, okay, just replace this guy. Yeah, I think Antara and Roach would be the worst. Roach was oh Lord Jesus, that was certainly top player.
So effort was bad. I mean, effort's on a different tier than these bad players, though. I do think effort was better than all of them.
Would you say effort put in no effort?
I think he put in effort, and that was the worst part. I wish he had put in no effort, because that's an excuse. I was like, oh yeah, I just didn't care that much. Yeah, well, okay.
The biggest upgrade maybe was, who was it? Because Teddy was playing on Janair, who was an awful fucking team, and he replaced Bang when he was on SKT. That was a weird time. God, we've been through a lot of their fucking eras. I don't even remember Elim. God, this is a place I don't remember, man. I remember when they benched half their roster, and then the hashtag on Twitter was like, "This is not my SKT." If you told me that Faker would have ever gotten benched for Pyrian, I would have just had a stroke.
What year did they get? What year did they get benched? 2018.
That was 2018. 2018 summer. Yeah.
Do you know a team a player that literally I'm heartbroken about was Peekaboo? I miss him so much. He literally just never got to play.
He was a smart player.
He was back then, he was like the best. He was the original best support.
What was a player that I thought had more potential? I'm trying to remember.
If you go by potential, you can start throwing out names.
I would say biggest choker, in my opinion, is always, people say Double Lift. I would say Clear Love is the biggest choker of all time.
Of all time? That's hard to say.
If you're coming just to Worlds. Dade only played it 2 Worlds, though. That's the thing.
But Dade was like unquestionably the best.
Clear Love was by far and away, people said, was the best jungler, no competition. And
in 2014 or 2013 or 14, sorry. People were like, Dade is the best player in the world.
But they said the same thing for Clear Love every year.
They never said he was the best player in the world, though. He was like one of the best junglers.
Some people had him as a top 5 player in the Worlds.
I never heard he was even the best.
You know who was the best player in Worlds ever? Bjergsen. There you go.
I think Bjergsen always played well, and I'm fine with that. Bjergsen is one of the people you didn't expect because he's not as good as the best mid players, but he played to the standard you expected, and I'm fine with that. Jensen played to the standard you expect from him, and I'm fine with that.
Double Lift just never did, though.
Double Lift literally is better than he played at Worlds every year, and it was just a disappointment. I was so angry with him. By the end of it, I was like, you just don't deserve to be on a team. You're not. You got no clutch factor.
Yeah, he went in wanting to win Worlds, and he scrimmed against. This is the reason why the LCS is bad. He could beat these guys here. His only competition was really Sneaky and Zen. He would scrim against the teams and lose all confidence, and then Lena would suck his dick right when you're scrimming, make him blow an entire load.
I don't care what anybody says. Doublelift was never as bad as he showed at Worlds. He was literally just so bad at Worlds.
I think he was. He only looked good here. And our ADCs are not good.
But there was other people who were worse than him that showed up on the stage. I mean, it's the reality is that he just genuinely. I mean, like, look at what's his name that came over. God, who was that 80s? Arrow that came over.
Yeah.
When Arrow came over, he didn't look as good as Bjergsen. I mean, as Doublelift. Went into the world stage and looked 20 times better.
Yeah, maybe it's just a mindset thing. I don't know.
It is a mindset. He's just a wimp. That was one of the things that.
That's what happens when they scrim against these guys. In NA, the scrim practice is bad. They scrim against world class teams.
Literally just the weak
mind through. They said they lose in 5 minutes.
I don't care. Not all of the players acted like that. Only Doublelift was that extent.
I mean, literally that extent, maybe yeah.
But
this is a consistent thing. They just get exposed. The practice is bad here. That's all it really is.
I don't care what, but it's fine. They're not as good as the Eastern players. That's fine to say. Playing to the standard that you are playing worse than you are playing from NA to Worlds is genuinely pathetic. I genuinely think even if you are playing and losing,
maybe it was just overrated.
No, he wasn't. He was playing worse. I watched the games. He genuinely made mistakes. He was too scared to do things, and it's because he was scared of them.
I think in the 2016 one, people just overrated that TSM roster.
I don't agree at all.
Him and Biofrost were not better than Uzi and Mata. That never.
Well, that's fine to say, but they were good. That was a good team that genuinely underperformed all around, specifically Doublelift.
Yeah,
specifically Doublelift. Literally,
I think just underestimated the weaknesses of Biofrost just being not good.
Biofrost was good back then. What do you mean?
He was carried by all of them. His team was Biofrost, Monster, Doublelift, and Bjergsen.
Biofrost was one of the best.
They could have you playing your patented Taric and you'd win with them.
You're misunderstanding. Biofrost was good back then. Biofrost is bad. Though. He was good back then.
No, Afromu was better and Smoothie was better.
Afromu was definitely not better back then. Afromu was past his prime back then. He was not even a top 5.
They're on 2016 when
Smoothie was better than him.
Smoothie and Afromu were better.
Not bad.
Biofrost was playing with Doublelift and Bjergsen, two of the goats of LCS. Constantly carried by
Afromu literally fell off a cliff after 2013. 2014 he wasn't that good. 2015 he was bad. And from then on he was just mediocre.
2015 he was good.
No. That CLG roster literally just doing
only
as
functioned
well as
with him.
Did.
He was their main.
I get that, but he just wasn't that good. Like when they played
better than Biofrost.
When they played well, it was because of the Huhi stupid ASOL pick. Yeah, ASOL pick literally was the only reason they did good.
They did good because they had Afromu as a shot caller.
But the shot calling, I'll agree. If you account shot calling,
I think Biofrost only did good because he had Doublelift and Bjergsen.
I know you think that, but he had a very good laning phase. Laning phase is defined.
Double's the best ADC. Of course it can happen.
Laning phase, he was not the best ADC. First of all, Piglet was the best ADC back then. Second of
2016?
all,
no, he wasn't.
2016. I don't care what you say. I completely disagree with you. Laning
if
phase
your
is
ADC
defined.
Is as good as Doublelift was in the LCS, Biofrost would win everything.
Laning phase is defined by the supports, not the ADCs. ADCs can't make an impact in the other game. They just don't. They don't.
Well, it doesn't even matter because Bjergsen just beat everybody back then.
Well, we're talking about laning phase. They won laning phase.
Wins everything.
Their laning phase was so good because of the fact that Biofrost's laning phase was good. ADCs cannot define the laning phase, and if your ADC is doing good in the lane, it's not because of the ADC.
I think because he just synergized well with Doublelift. I don't think he was ever that impressive, honestly.
Well, he looked really bad after 2 years. Once he left, well, even towards the end of his
Doublelift, credit. He did win with Wild Turtle, who was very clearly worse than Doublelift. He does have that.
Biofrost was good for maybe 2 years at the most. He was good, but that 2016, I think he was an argument for top 2 support.
If you ask me who would I pick out of 3, I'm taking Afromu or Smoothie every single time.
Why would you pick? I just don't understand the Afromu pick. He wasn't good. We even talked about it back then.
Afromu even got.
I think when we did a ranking that year, and I don't think you even put Afromu in the top 5.
No, I thought Afromu, you could have had
I think I put Afromu in the bottom 5. I think you put Afromu out of the top 5. We're talking about sports. I remember we did rankings back then, and I remember the
2016
for 2016 we did. We had a ranking.
I said Afromu and Smoothie were better. I've always said Biofrost only did well because his teammates were Doublelift and Bjergsen. That's it. That's the only reason why he did good. And that happens when you have the best winners on your team.
You're misremembering that team.
Like, Afromu got second place at an international tournament. Biofrost did fuck all at Worlds.
I don't care about rankings. SKT straight up. SKT. Biofrost was good for a year. I'm not going to let anybody take that away from him because he was. He was a good support.
If you play with Doublelift and Bjergsen,
you're accounting for rosters and not accounting for his play. You just don't remember his play. And
his play gets shadowed because Doublelift and Bjergsen just win everything. Does it not?
That has nothing to do with laning phase. And second of all,
because if Bjergsen beats everybody, his laning phase is not.
What does that have to matter? Bjergsen winning anything doesn't affect bot lane's laning phase.
It does because Because if they swap Beerson out, then he would obviously be playing worse.
How would they back in then? Mid lane made zero impact on bot lane.
Yeah,
back then.
I'm just saying,
even if Beerson went 20-0, they did. But we're just talking about the early game bot lane differences. Were defined by how.
Oh, this is against like such a weak pool of supports outside of Afro and Smoothie.
I just first of all, I still don't think Afro deserves the credit you give him. He doesn't.
I'm just pointing out if your team is double Beerson and you don't win, that looks worse on yourself. Just saying.
Let's see.
Chaz, why are you black? Do you want James to eat your ass?
No, I'm good, man.
Oh my god, this old lady messaged me. This lady's trying to lick my ass. I gotta go. All right.
Oh, wait. 2016. No, that's 2018. Yeah, the oldest we started was 2018. So
after the split, he won MVP. That's crazy.
You put Biofrost in the top 3.
Did I at that point?
Yeah. Who was he in 2018. And that was when he downgraded drastically. Number 1 was.
What?
Oh my god, your rankings are trash. Oh my goodness. You had Core JJ at like 4th.
Who?
You did.
What
in 2018?
I'm trying to remember.
This supports. Your number 1
support rankings going into the spring split, right? What roster did Biofrost play on? I'm trying to remember which one. I thought based off the roster he was around, he would do better. I don't remember what roster was on.
Let me go back.
What roster was he going to be on for TSM? Oh my god, he was on CLGs. There we go. He was on CLGs. I underestimated how bad Stixxay had become. Stixxay had ran it. Stixxay was not a person. I couldn't blame him for playing bad with Stixxay. Stixxay is just trash. Talk about people that peaked in 2016.
Oh, not only that. You put Vulcan in 2018 at 10th.
I didn't know who he was.
I told you.
I'm not going to rank someone high if I didn't see his gameplay. So he's got to prove himself.
You're crazy.
You got to prove yourself. You put Piglet in the top 4. That man didn't even make playoffs.
I don't care. I still think his gameplay was good. People underestimated Piglet.
Well, it was a Wang Qingchong, and he got what he deserved.
Oh, shit.
I think Doublelift is a hater because he's never achieved anything Piglet has.
I'm just pointing out.
I'm not Doublet. Sorry, not Doublet. I will dominate. Hates on Piglet because he's never achieved anything.
I'm just pointing out. Piglet also won with Piglet won with Faker when Faker was the god of League.
Boy, Piglet dominates the professional hater, man. He hates everything.
He really hates on Piglet when Piglet is just his career.
No, the reason why he said he didn't like Piglet is he said his work ethic was bad.
No, he said he was a toxic player.
Yeah, he also mentioned, I know I mentioned this a while ago, work ethic. He was a terrible teammate. He made people cry. He said he made Special cry. We saw him act like a complete baby.
I'm not describing. Like, I'm not taking away from that. I do.
Like, if you have to live with that for a year, you'd be pretty mad.
His mindset is not that of a competitive player, but the mechanics he had were. He was mechanically extremely good.
I think if he was on maybe like I don't know, because he just didn't like being in America. It was gonna blow out at some point, just like my wife blew my back out last night. So, do you think Carla will eat my ass?
Shut up. Yeah, let's let me look at the rankings.
They're looking pretty. All right, so time to wrap it up here. Chaz, do you have anything you want to say before we head out? Actually, hope you guys enjoyed the episode tonight.
Nah, man, just can't wait for more league to come back. T1 world champion again. Shit's crazy. Only I had faith out of us 3, I believe.
On what?
T1 winning worlds.
I thought they were going to win worlds after the top esports one. But are you talking about the beginning of worlds?
I picked it from the beginning that T1
that would crazy to me. That's the way they were playing all year. I was like, "There's no way."
Nah, and MSK kept saying, "I don't." The minute he kept saying, "I don't got faith in none of these teams," I was like, "Okay, T1's winning world then."
That's true. Like literally just
top esports series. The reason why I didn't want to take that away from them is because top esports just genuinely did not show up at all. They didn't play the game. Against Gen G, they were like, okay, they're probably going to win worlds at this point.
I think SKT played the top esports thing so well. I think it's one of the best series
once they beat Gen G, a team that they've lost to all year, I was like, well, if you beat the team that just beat you all year, I mean, I guess you don't lose at this point, I guess it's just over. Like, what else do you do at that point? You know? They actually beat Top Esports, who almost beat Gen G at MSI. Then T1 beat Gen G themselves, and then T1 beat the team that beat them in best of fives. I mean, hey, they had a hard run winning Worlds. They beat the best teams in the LPL, and they beat the best team in the LCK. You can't say their run was a fluke. I can't say that. Crazy. Faker just gets the best out of everybody. Oh my god, they can replace Faker with Poopy.
Did you just say to me? I like how you said, yeah, Chaz was zoned out right there.
He said Faker replaced Faker with Poopy. I was like, yes, he did. And Poopy was trash. And guess what? Reckless is a world
champion.
He got a bitch.
They said G2 scrimmed against T1 and buffed them up against BLG. G2 are the scrim gods, apparently.
Yeah, scrim gods, even though they went like
G2 Fnatic.
They're the scrim world champions.
No, not Fnatic.
The problem is they went like 4-17 against FlyQuest. They went like 5.
They went 1-15 against BLG.
They got dumpstered by both NA teams.
Yeah,
that's crazy to think about.
That's
both NA teams.
They actually had a worse scrim record this year than last year. Last year they were winning everything.
Yeah, they were winning, but they got dumpstered by both Team Liquid and FlyQuest, which impressed me. I didn't coming into this world. I thought G2 was going to be the better team, but FlyQuest looked very good, and that's why it's hard for me because I can never. It never matters what people do before Worlds. Teams just show up at Worlds, and all of their past doesn't make a difference anymore.
Yeah, it's in different ways. Because if you look at the Team Liquid and G2 roster, because most people wanted them to face against each other, when Team Liquid faced against Asian teams, they never won.
Yeah, but I'm just going to say
Team Liquid played against Top Esports and they got blown out. G2 played against Top Esports, they 3-0.
Give them credit for what they did. You need to stop.
Umpty running it down. I'll give them credit.
I just like you. You're like I said. FlyQuest one did pretty good. Well, they didn't 3-0 Gen G, so did they really? Shut up.
No,
Bwipo, for what they did.
No, you're doing the anime thing. Bwipo was like, whoa, we just wanted to prove we could play well. No, you fat fuck. You're supposed to win the games. Like
they're supposed to win the game. I'm not trying to take away from that, but every time I try and say they did pretty good at this Worlds, better than expected.
I think FlyQuest actually genuinely played very well at the World Championship.
I think that
Team Liquid, I don't think did.
I do. I think
that peaked it earlier in the year. Honestly,
I think that they honestly, if they had faced a different, if they faced DK, I think they had a shot at going into top 8. If they had faced, I genuinely there's just so many bad teams.
DK, probably.
I mean, just DK Team Liquid was not the worst. They genuinely could have done something if they got a different team. I just
don't know why they struggled at Worlds so much. They usually play. They had better lane. Their lane.
They didn't struggle at Worlds though. They did really well towards the end.
You said Impact couldn't even gnar ult properly.
Yeah, and you know what? He still team fought better than Breathe. That was the crazy. I'm just saying he literally didn't know how to get Meganar in a fight a single time, and he still was better than Breathe.
Yeah, but
that was the craziest point.
Liquid
he got solo killed by Breathe and still did 20,000 more damage than him.
You know what's also crazy is that Team Liquid have Umpty, and you can't win nothing with that guy because he's just trash.
I think Umpty's not even the worst on that team.
Yeah,
what's up on that team?
Yeah, on Team Liquid.
On that team, you know what? You're right. I think I probably spoke before I was thinking because Core JJ played better than him at World. I would have said him if it wasn't Worlds.
John's played pretty well. I can't really.
Core JJ was pretty bad this year.
No. He's been bad for the last couple of years. Yeah, but Umpty was the worst this one. He mentally boomed.
Because I think before this Worlds, I think Umpty was better than Core JJ.
Yeah.
If we go into Worlds, Core JJ was the best player on the team.
I think Team Liquid just adapted to the Korean play styles differently. The LPL teams, despite them games look scrappy, that's them. They never play clean league in general.
NA, which has been the case forever, is that NA teams always just essentially copy the play style of the best Korean teams. They've done it.
And they lose to the Chinese teams more because the Chinese teams, despite them not having good macro, they know how to play the game.
NA genuinely, literally cannot beat China ever. They just never will. It just won't happen.
That's why it didn't surprise me. They lost to Weibo and LNG.
It didn't because they were playing worse than them. By the time the end of the thing, I think they had a better shot. If the team that showed up against Gen G had showed up at the beginning of the tournament, I think it would have been a little different. At the very least, it would have been way closer.
What other team have we not talked? No, we talked about every team.
We talked about every team.
I think so.
The only We really barely touched on LNG, but that's for a good reason.
Oh yeah. I'm not surprised at all.
What you gotta say about Line?
They were just happy to be here. They just
easily, yeah. No, they
despite Maples last year and Woody role swapping to support and having to put with Ozzy, they played better than I expected. I would say I thought they were going to be a bad team.
PSG was the best team in our region all year.
I think GAM was the best of the non-top 4 regions. And it's hard for me to say because PSG was
probably. Yeah.
PSG and GAM are good for comparatively.
I'll put PSG over GAM, but
I think it's close. I think they're both.
That's a coin toss.
Oh my god! This is how you know Brazil is trash. Pain, they got 2 kills against SKT, and people were like, "Oh my god, they got 2 kills." I'm like, "Is that
Latin America is so bad? Latin America is so bad. Then why is Rainbow 7 a top 10 team?"
There you go. See, and
this is why we're building the wall so they can't keep beating up our players. That's also why 100 Thieves dropped out. They were like, "Oh, we have to play against
Quid." Went 0-7 on Vex.
I'm just telling you,
turbo sprinting that shit.
They saw that they would have to play consistently against Rainbow 7, and they're like, "We can't be in this league."
No, Rainbow 7 realized they beat 100 Thieves, and they were like, "We'll just name change so you forget who we were." That's smart.
That's I forgot what is their name now?
Lion Gaming. I don't know. Okay. I don't know why they reached. They're branding stupid. They should have kept R7.
It was a combination plus R7. I think the company was filed for bankruptcy or something, and they had to.
Oh, talking about the esports model. That's why a lot of these teams aren't here. It's not the fact they don't want to be. They make no money doing this. They wanted to get out. Arnold said on the last Free Nation channel, one of the episodes with talking to Monty and Wolf, a lot of teams want to leave. That's why half the LLA teams left when they were offered. That's why 100 Thieves basically has 1 foot in, 1 foot out kind of thing. You know.
Plus with the LLA team, none of them made money. None of them were profitable.
None of these guys are profitable. John Needs Baloney says. Remember, he said we have too many teams, and they shrunk it down. So a lot of these teams want to leave. The LCK teams, take out. Who cares about Bro and Nongshim? Just make 8 teams, please. Just holy shit.
The reason you have these bad teams is because it allows for more people in the lower pool to get the chance to have professional experience. So when these bad teams are here, you steal their players when they become good.
I think the LCK can stay at 10 teams. The one region that needs to cut down teams is LPL.
LPL needs like 12 teams. Yeah.
Why are there 17 teams? No.
They used to have 10 teams.
Yeah, they need to go back to 10 teams because who the fuck wants to watch Vikla play? Like, what the fuck out of here?
Who wants to watch Ultra Prime versus anyone's legend? That shit is trash.
Y'all don't understand. They're gonna pop off next year. You just wait and see.
You're thinking about James Harden.
Ultra Prime the team that gets to like 7-1. Ultra Prime will be 7-1, but they beat all this shit team, and then they end up at 7-9. You're like, how the fuck?
I love how their name is Ultra Prime, and they've never been in a Prime.
Or we're at like, if I have to if I try to watch an LPL game, it's like JDG BLG, but I first gotta go through Thunder Talk versus Ray Adam and
Ultra Prime LGD.
Like, why are you going to
I'll give that. There's been moments in the years where anyone's legend have had some decency. FPX, they've tried, but FPX only did well because they had Milky Way, and Milky Way was on loan from RNG. RNG has had Milky Way.
How is that situation now? Is he back on RNG?
They said he's coming back to RNG.
Oh my god, that team is.
They chose to keep Way because RNG is so broke. They couldn't pay to get rid of Way, so they just transferred Way to BLG.
I would. Milky Way is if this esport continues, he's going to be the future.
Milky Way is one of the. He had the second best debut of any player beside Faker.
I think he might have had he might have had a better one if we actually. The only problem is Worlds. Beyond Worlds, if we disclose Worlds, I think he looked better than Faker.
He looked so good.
And that was and it's hard for me to hype somebody up like that, but he genuinely is impressive.
The fact that RNG it's so beyond broke they gave away their best player. So stupid.
Well, they didn't know he was that good. To be fair, they loaned him out at the beginning.
Yeah. They always loan. Yeah, I don't know how they don't. You could just loan a player. Hey, can I just
you
get
can do that,
please?
You can do that in every sport. That's just how it works.
Man.
Besides, well, not every sport. Like you can do that in soccer. Sorry.
Jesus. Hey, there's Kanavi. Remember, Kanavi's contract is up at JDG. Kanavi's one of the most overrated players ever.
Kanavi used to be good.
Kanavi used to be good. I'm telling you right now, if the NFL was able to loan out players, Kansas City would just be taking all the good players at the end. It's like, all right.
Yeah, everyone would want to play with Patrick Mahomes. That's it.
Well, no. So I think all the top stupid teams would be getting like the top market teams. Like the Giants would be way better than they've been.
Oh, another.
Giants is too trash because our quarterback is ass.
Oh, the last one before we go. Oh, the team that makes no sense with their name is Team Vitality. Their name is Vitality means to vitalize you. It's supposed to be a good thing. That's
Kanavi is the one to blame why JDG let go of Knight for Yagao. Is that real?
I don't know. I didn't know that. Is that true? Maybe Kanavi didn't want to play with, but that roster was going to get blown up anyway. It cost too much money. It cost $16 million to run that roster.
Oh hell no!
Yeah, it didn't matter what he wants. They were gonna be a one. That's the biggest what if too, because JDG losing to T1 at that moment means people think that they weren't a good team. It's like that's the only best of 5 they lost, but that was at that exact moment.
Man, Invictus game in 2017, Invictus game is like my favorite team of all time. Oh,
God, Baolan, the best support of all time. Crazy, right? I think the Shy for me has had the biggest outside of Faker, you would say, and maybe Chovy. The Shy had one of the biggest peaks I've ever seen out of someone. He just doesn't
really. It is an argument to me. It was the biggest peak.
He just straight up he stomped people so hard on the ground and made them cry.
Went there after being injured like all year, put them in the dumpster. Like he'd put everybody in the dumpster. And they had this was a team with him. That team was one of the most stacked teams you'll ever see. Him, rookie, Jackie Love,
Baolan, and Ning.
And Ning overperformed. Ning was very good.
Ning was super coin flip. Ning's Hillithang for junglers. That guy.
Yeah, but it landed on heads all the worlds.
There's people on Twitter like reacting to like Doinby's like how the fuck are we gonna put like should all the LPL team just bring back the old championship team? Imagine IG bring back all their players 7 years later.
Honestly,
what's that one guy they have now?
YSKM.
You should know my name. That guy's actually pretty talented.
I'm not gonna lie. If IG really wants to bring back the championship team from 2018, they should
bring it back.
Get Rookie off Ninjas. Get Rookie off Ninjas because this motherfucker is doing.
Put him on that. Get stupid Jackie Love, who's a top very good ADC.
Jackie Love was actually really good. Yeah.
I always forget his name when I talk about top ADCs, but he's definitely up there.
If Genji had Jackie Love, it was crazy. LPL imports Koreans. I've never seen a Korean team import a Chinese player. I don't think I ever have.
I mean, the language barrier is not worth it.
It's the one ching-chongness.
Like Jackie Love is literally.
You saw how that worked with Team Vitality.
Don't.
What Chinese ADCs are actually better than him?
Jackie Love? Okay, outside of Uzi in his prime.
Well, Jargon, yeah, just like historically.
Elk
is there with him? Elk's not. I don't think Elk's better than him.
I keep forgetting that Rule's Korean. I keep forgetting that. I was like, holy fuck.
Yeah. We're just talking about Chinese ADCs. That is not real.
I think SMLZ was very good. He just never had good teams ever.
Well, that's true. SMLZ is up there.
I have to go to my mind. I remember.
Wei Xiao.
Deft was in the eight. He was Chinese for a little bit.
Yeah, we're talking about. If we're talking about that, it's the list comes a little bigger. But I think Jackie Love is like his
LWX good. Kind of just was only good that 1 year.
He was never good. I think people overestimated him. People literally gave him too much credit for success that wasn't his.
I don't know who else is there. I'll remember. Oh, Gala. Gala's probably there with Jackie Love.
I don't think Gala's as good as Jackie Love either.
He does. Yeah, the peaks aren't as high, but I would say they're about the same. Huang Fang had it for 1 year.
Huang Fang was good for a little bit. You're right. So I would think that the top ADCs are if we're going by historically, we're gonna probably put Uzi, then Wei Xiao, and then maybe Jackie Love.
How about Light?
I don't think Light's up there. I think Light's good. I'm not even taking away from Light.
If you're saying top 10, I would say
we're talking about all-time lists.
Oh no,
I don't think either Elk or Light make it.
I'm not gonna lie. I can't name you 5 Chinese ADCs because most of them because I keep looking at all the teams. I'm like, damn, all these motherfuckers are Korean. The fuck?
I'm saying Korea runs the entire world with this. They're just the best at. Oh god, man, that's why it's so hard to see a bad Korean player. Like when they really stick out, they really stick out as bad.
I mean, just like, and then you start looking at the best Chinese junglers. I'm trying to think, man.
There's too many to remember. He retired. He was really.
SOFM is you already know how much I love that man. I think I talked about him every single year.
You're gay.
I've talked about this man every single year. SOFM was like, he's not even, the worst part is not even Chinese.
That's Chinese jungler. Oh, no, it's just, I have to remember. I think, Karsa's from Hong Kong. That doesn't, I'm not doing that route. Nope, not doing that route.
Because, like, SOFM is the best jungler that's played in China.
Yeah, everyone imports Koreans. I've never seen people really port LPL players. Except
because
but Bo doesn't really count, though, because Bo had to be imported because of his match fixing that he did. Bo didn't want to come to EU. No, Bo would want to be
the problem is that I think...
even Photon is good. If Photon came to an LCS team, he'd be good.
So the reason that LCK players come over is because the amount of money you can get from the NA to LCK is substantially better. The reason people don't go to... I miss Sword Art. Sword Art was very good for a little bit.
God, man. He was
I just... And it's the biggest problem when I talked about Gorilla not being good back in 2018... When I said that Gorilla's not going to be good, it's the same thing I said about Sword Art.
Very good for a long time.
Yeah, but I immediately he was the best support, like a top 2 support in the world when he came over. I said he's not going to look good.
Oh yeah.
We talked about
the same thing with Prey. I think Prey. If I had top of ADCs ever, I would put Prey, Uzi, fucking hell, probably Gumayusi goes in there.
I actually think Bang goes up there. Bang was very good for like 3 years.
Well, hold on. Uzi, Gumayusi, who else did I say?
Deft.
No, I think Ruler's better than Deft.
Deft historically is like arguably number 1. You're putting Uzi's done. Like,
no, I would say if you're asking
Deft went to China and was better than Uzi that year. That's crazy to say that you would consider Uzi
better. Jackie Love, I would say, is better than Deft. I would say
you're misremembering.
I don't really think. I think Deft had
the
great
problem
years.
is
I think
Deft's peaks.
People only remember his peaks. He never was as consistent as people made him out to be. He was
consistently good. No, he had bad years from 2018 to 2020. Deft is like literally.
I would have him at top 10, but I would have
top 10. You don't even have him in top 5.
I would have him way lower than most people do.
That's crazy. I genuinely don't agree with that.
You have Bang over him, and
I don't have Bang. I don't have Bang over Deft ever.
Oh my goodness.
My top 3 ADCs are like
Uzi, Gumayusi, Ruler. Fucking hell. I can't remember. It's too many players to remember at this point. Holy shit.
I honestly think, even though Teddy's never achieved anything, he's the top 10 ADC. I genuinely think he's made it to that point.
Fucking Chaz, roll my brain. Holy crap, my brain is fried.
Teddy.
I'm not glad. I don't know most of these players. I know them, but I don't know their
I'm trying to remember. It's so hard.
It's like
players you watch
from
over the years,
from his Guma over Ruler and Deft. He's just naming off. He didn't put them in order. Ruler is better than Ruler still.
If you're asking me about Deft, I think.
Are we going by career? We're going by career,
and when we go by career, I think Deft shoots up to the top 2.
Are we going
accolades?
Accolade, yeah. Are we going accolade, or we just going off pure talent?
Deft, I'm gonna just go with Ruler over Deft every time. That's just.
I think you.
I don't think Deft's peaks match Ruler's at all.
Are we going accolade or
Deft's
pure talent?
Peaks are like
great.
The best player in the world.
Are we going?
Has there been a year you thought Ruler was anything below like 2, top 3? There's been years where Deft wasn't like good at all.
Good at all? Maybe in 2022.
He was good in 2015. Oh, sorry, he was good in 2013, 14,
He was good
15.
from 2013 all the way to 2018, without a doubt. What year was he bad in those? 2019, he was he was a top 5 ADC.
I think Jackie Love's peaks are just about as good.
If we're talking about just purely peaks and not historical
Oh, we're going to historical peaks. Yeah, they're tied. If you're asking me, I would pick Ruler over
Ruler and Deft. You can pick. I can understand Ruler over Deft. I can't understand putting Ruler at the bottom of the top 10. I mean, sorry, Deft in the bottom of the top 10.
That's what I can't think of the other players right now. If my brain will turn on tomorrow, I'll probably remember who I'm thinking about. I don't like Uzi and him. Uzi didn't win as much early on, but he did win later on.
He did, but he never won a world championship, and he wasn't as good as Deft when Deft went over to Korea and China. China was when he went to China. Deft was the best ADC. Even
you would have Bang over Deft? No way.
Not at all. Bang is not better than Deft. Yeah. Bang is a top 10 ADC, I think. Bang is not that
I think people underrate Bang, actually.
People underrate Bang. Bang is a top 10 ADC. He's not as good.
Oh, Prey. I think Prey's better than Deft, if you ask me.
Prey's peaks were not as high. Prey. One big thing about
I think Prey just choked when it. I think Prey just choked when it mattered. I think Prey was amazing.
I think Prey overperformed when
I've never seen a player like him shot calls in ADC and carry games effectively as he
because when he did, remember, like in Worlds, he was making cross map plays with Ashe and winning games with it.
Yeah, crazy. Like he was a great player.
But that was one. That was
he was only good with Gorilla, I'll say. Deft has been good with many different like the thing you can say that he's worse than Ruler and Deft were better with different like supports throughout the year.
I think Prey is unarguably a top 10 ADC too. I will say that Prey is good. But if you start talking about it, you
double
can't.
it. Top
10 Western ADC.
I think I gotta put the discrepancy there. Yeah, I have to remember the players though.
Ruler Deft, I think I won't even be upset if you put Ruler over Deft because it's fair to say. That's a fair enough.
Do you see enter the top 10, not top 5 at this point then?
A top 5, Gumayusi, if we put
if you ask me, I would put out Gumayusi over Deft. I
wouldn't do that.
Top 5, yeah.
I think top 5 is an argument, honestly.
To me, yes, but that's for my.
The only argument he has in favor of Gumayusi is that he played in so many years with different people and teams and still won. That's pretty impressive.
Not even still won. He was still, without a doubt, for like a decade straight, he was a top 3 ADC.
Yeah,
and then people start taking into his recent gameplay and take away from him. Like, not everybody's gonna be Faker. Like, not everybody's gonna be Faker who can play for 10 years and still be good. He played. Deft played.
Might sound different.
Not really.
No, you're good.
Faker Deft played from like 2012 to 2020 and was a top 3 ADC. Uzi was very good. He's definitely top 5. So we go Ruler. We go Deft, Ruler for sure. Those are the top 2, in my opinion. Then Uzi, and then it's a toss. Yeah. You could literally put Gumayusi right there. There's an argument to be made. Like, who would you put above him? There'd be Wei Zhao. But Wei Zhao had too short of a career. There's MLXG. Oh, not MLXG. SMLZ. Imp was up there too. Like,
but Imp fell off as the years went by too. That's the problem.
Guma over Prey. I really do think.
Guma Prey just affected his team's better because Guma's not like a shot caller. Guma just is along for the ride.
Well, I'm just saying Guma with this next championship and with how he played at this Worlds, I think you can argue he's over Prey now. Because, again, at the end of the day, Prey never won a Worlds.
Yeah.
And even if you want to take away from him, Guma was a big factor in them winning Worlds.
Yeah.
It's just I can't really think.
KT never had any. That's what. No, KT never.
KT did. KT had space, or not KT. Sorry, that was CJ Antis. CJ Antis had space, who is very underrated historically.
I'm trying to remember any other LCK teams or Chinese teams having peak ADCs like that.
China, literally so many ADCs. China's best role of all time is ADC. China had Wei Zhao, SMLZ, Uzi, Huang Feng.
Mystic, that's the name. Yeah.
Mystic's not that good. Mystic had
some peaks, but I wouldn't say he's top 10 worthy.
I don't think he's top 10. I don't think Mystic makes it to top 10.
There's probably a player I'm not remembering right now.
No, there's not.
That's probably it, right?
I think we've tackled and
Teddy.
When you think about it, Teddy's an argument for top 10.
Yeah,
and that is what I said earlier. Teddy's an argument for top 10. I think that it just when he was on Jin Air and he was literally the only good player on that team, I was like, please get him off that team. And then they brought him to SKT and threw effort in the lane with him. I was like, that's not better.
Mata, remember they swapped between Mata too.
Well, Mata was like 47 years old at that point. Give him old Mata. Past his prime.
Oh god, they subbed in Mata in that game where they had to win against G2. Oh my god, that was so troll. But that SKT team, remember, the G2 team now could beat that 2019 SKT team. SKT just evolved over the years. That SKT team, despite G2 winning that year against them, were weaker than they are now.
Jin Air is like one of my favorite teams of all time. They always had them and CG Answers like very fun to watch back in the day. Even though they were never amazing, even though CG Answers was.
Yeah, because I don't think has a player ever had a glow up like some of these guys had? Back in the day, the glow up was really impressive from some of them. I've not seen a glow up like the Shies in long time.
The Shy was like a big time solo hero.
Is there a player you can remember that had a glow up like his?
The Shy didn't. The Shy didn't play.
I guess you could say Chovy because Chovy came in right after he did.
So, these aren't glow ups. I think these are like Umti was also on Jin Air before. Yeah, I'm aware of that.
Umti, that's why they're bad.
Jin Air, the reason they were bad is because Umti was on there for 50 years. Umti was like a staple point of it.
And then Bro got him, and Bro were like, man, this guy
weirdly enough, Umti was better now than he was back then.
Yeah. I was surprised Team Liquid imported that guy. I thought he was so trash.
Umti is better now than he was back in Jin Air, because on Jin Air, he was a actual trash can.
I think it's easier to rank Western GOATs.
Oh, it's without a doubt, it's easy.
Yeah, there's
if you just
Ven, Bjergsen, Double Lift, Mithy.
So like best Western ADC of all time is Ven. Best Western mid laner is Caps.
Yeah.
Best Western top laner is a throw up. But best Western support, I think it's Impact.
Impact or Wonder
because I think Impact has been still doing it for so many more years.
Wonder's peak when he was really good.
His peak was better than Impact.
I'll say Wonder mostly because Impact do got that buff from pulling over from the LCK.
Yeah,
I think
Yanko's. I think it's just no one but there, but Yanko's jungle, right?
Yanko's jungler. Bjergsen is good, but Caps is just.
Because you're saying performing internationally, Caps
is just
performing internationally better than Bjergsen has. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying in Rainier, I love Bjergsen.
The only double lift is Ven, but the hardest one is support.
So no, it's not. It's Core JJ.
You think it's Core JJ or Mithy?
Core JJ over Mithy for sure.
Oh no, yeah.
And it's just even including just their performance in the West. Core JJ literally was like one of the best, top 3 support for like maybe 5 years.
Western GOAT, you could say, Perks is in there for a lot of people.
Perks is up there but the problem is Perks played so many roles, it's hard to put him in a specific role.
It was the same thing you said about Xiaohu, the fact that he could roll swap and do it.
Yeah, but like the difference between Perks is Xiaohu, you could put him in a role and be like, he's a top 5.
Yeah,
you can't do that with Perks.
I know he was mad people didn't call him a top 5 ADC in spring of that year. It's like, you weren't a top 5 ADC in spring. He got mad because people said Cobb.
Remember Core JJ? Oh, I remember that.
Oh, we
were there in person. That man,
just crazy. Golden Glue was never good. He was a player that never got better on any different roster.
I kept just trash. I really, when we went to the game and Golden Glue's mom came and she was like, "Oh, let's go!" We yelled his real name. I was like,
"No."
That is the
she confused Rainover for Piglet because they're both Chings. And she was massaging my nuts and stuff.
She did not do that.
How do you know that? She grabbed my balls, man.
Grabbing your gross. They walk over there. They can smell the cottage cheese from a distance. They ain't walking closer.
God, man. She saw your patchy beard and she was like, nah, not touching this man. That's okay.
Man, look, who are you talking about patchy beards? You got a Cheeto on your lips.
You got a haircut from a black girl.
What's that mean?
What the fuck?
I'm just pointing out that's pretty racist. But Western GOATs, Zen, those are the Western GOATs. I would say maybe you could argue Zen's the top. Like if you're arguing like top, Zen would have to be in top 3 because he's won Europe and NA so many times.
Oh, I think Zen is the best ADC.
He probably has to be.
Zen is number 1. Number 1 support is
not ADC, just GOAT Western player. Him and Caps are there. Probably, right?
I think it's an argument.
It would be Caps, Yankos, and Zen. That's it, right?
According to rumors, the first LCK team to contact Ruler was Genji.
Oh, they want to get the band back together.
Come back. Let's go get Kingen. Let's get the band back together. That's the guy. That's like getting the band back together and get the guy that plays the triangle in the corner. He'll be right there. He'll be cheering them on.
That's how you get the retard alert. Oh my god, Tiny's messaging right now. Ask me to blow me.
Shut up.
Lies.
We're gonna go visit her. Okay, here, I have an idea for you. We go visit her. We do a double date. You go with her mom, and I go with her.
I don't know Tiny like that.
You go with her mom. Her mom could
shut your. Don't talk about her mom like that. That's disrespectful.
I'm just pointing out your mind penis could get eviscerated.
Don't do that. Dorn Canyon, Chovy, Ruler, Lehens. I really think
that's just the same roster without Peanut.
Honestly, they just need to replace Dorn, and I think they're set. Because I believe Dorn's contract is coming up too. Let me see. Dorn's contract. Where is it at? Oh, wait. He just literally talked about Genji getting Dorn. What am I saying? You want them to pick up Dorn instead of Keen? Keen is so much better than Dorn. I think there's no world.
Yeah, if you replace Keen with Dorn, that's actually such a huge downgrade and lateral move. Yeah. They just want their 2023 roster back, just minus Keen? I mean, it never looked like he synergized that well with them.
Keen is good. I'm sorry. Keen is
but if the chemistry is not there, then they can't win.
I mean, you can literally try and make it work. You can try and make it work and see if it ends
Keen had the best play in the LCK all year with that Cassante thing he did. That was just
The only thing I would say it would be a problem is Keen on a team with Chovy and Ruler.
I would mean Lehens. I think Lehens just needs to go after what he did.
Who do you replace him with?
Dude, there's Mohab.
Okay,
Mohab is fat, and he can give the other players some of his fat.
I'm just saying, the only problem I would see with those three players is that there would be a lack of resources being spread around the map because they're obviously
one of the players is so fat.
One of the shut your mouth. Keen would struggle to get the resources needed.
Keen just literally doesn't synergize with him at all.
He's fine. Well, no, the problem wasn't Keen on that team. That team just wasn't meant to win. Chovy is the problem, regardless of what anybody says. He just doesn't have a mindset to win worlds.
That's why Showmaker will always have that one world's title over him.
It's crazy because Showmaker's never been as good as Chovy, but he just knows the game better.
He was always top 2 when they were playing together.
Yeah, but Chovy was always a better. Let's just go back mechanically. Mechanically, Chovy's never been.
I'm just pointing out if a number 2 guy wins over number 1, that's not.
I'm not even going to disagree with that. I'm just saying Showmaker and Chovy, the mechanics difference is massive. I do think it's pretty big.
Oh yeah,
but Showmaker knows so much more about the game that he makes up that difference by a large margin, and his teams can play winning League. Where so is Chovy will literally has the same mindset about League that Bjergsen did in Season 4.
Yeah.
And that's not even a joke. That's
not a good thing either because Bjergsen is the Lord.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. It's not even sometimes. That's how he plays the game. He literally focuses on laning until the game. By the time he's laning for 30 minutes, and he's like, all right, guys, it's time to team fight. His team's already off the stage.
He doesn't do that against Faker. Against Faker, he'll actually just run him down. Isn't that crazy? He only does that to Faker.
It's literally only Faker. I agree with that. He just flips the switch against Faker and flips the switch off.
Everyone wants to prove himself against Faker.
He flips the switch off against Shoemaker. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Anything else you guys want to bring up before we head out? I hate you.
But yeah, that's the season. The next episode is just off-season roster moves for LEC, LCS, LCK. It's going to be hard to track a Chinese one. I'll try and do videos on it when I can. But yeah, that's much it. I hope Genji can keep a top 2 roster. Keep in mind, you don't want to make that many downgrades so you're not competing with T1. T1 is their biggest competition, so you don't want to do that. But you also don't want to downgrade to the point where you don't win an LCK title anymore. What does it matter? There's only 2 LCK titles, LCK Cup, and there's a title at the end of the year. So you have that going for you now. So you don't have to win the splits anymore. I don't know, honestly. So you want to say anything else, white man? You want to shove it in my butt?
Ask Blanks. What do you want to say, chaps?
No, I'm not gonna lie. I've been there for about 10 minutes. I'll just see how you guys, talk about League. I was like, I didn't know half the players you were talking about.
Yeah, I get it. We talked about past players, and you started watching in like season 10, so it's
yeah. He started watching when fucking Aframo was giga garbage on FlyQuest.
I remember Aframo. Okay, for me, I saw him in 2016. He looked decent in 2016. To me, it was after that. To me, after 2016 is when his career.
After he won the Spring Split MVP on 100 Thieves is when he peaked.
Yeah, that final. Yeah, 2018. That final was like
2013 was his best year.
That was 10 years ago.
People said, when Bard first came into the game, people said if he ever won Worlds, he would get a Bard skin, and the little meeps would have afros on them.
Well, that's cool. If you ever won Worlds, they would probably do that. That was a mindset they had.
Yeah. So as you guys know, I love doing the show, and we just have off-season news episodes. And when that's over, well, the season is not done. Season ends at 23 episodes, but there's no more league to talk about until it comes back. It's coming back January 18th. They said so. We're gonna be dealing with a whole month of no league. That's crazy.
I'm excited.
And take a break. It's always good to have a break because you always get to be refreshed, so you enjoy the season coming in when it starts again. So. Yeah, thank you guys for checking out this episode of the Cloud9 podcast. We'll see you guys on Sunday.